after the editorial. Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached maximum capacity in this room, which happens every once in a while. So we're going to get started with our meeting. We're going to start with, we start all of our meetings with student recognition, and we have some student recognition today on the anti-violence contest conducted by the Rochester Violence Prevention winners. I've had the opportunity to judge this contest in the past. I didn't get a chance this year because I was out of town, but I have seen the posters around town, and I want to, in advance, commend the students for the great work that they put together in terms of illustrating the importance of having a violence-free community through art. So I'm going to ask Ms. Gladys Pedraza Burgos, who is our Chief of Youth and Family Services, to give us the names of the winners of the contest, and then I'll ask my colleagues to join me down front so we can recognize these great students who have done such a great job in terms of the anti-violence initiative. So my colleagues, if you can join me down front, and Ms. Pedraza Burgos.
Thank you, President Evans. The Rochester Youth Violence Partnership is a hospital-led base violence intervention program that targets victims of violence under the age of 18. It's led by a regional trauma center at the University of Rochester. This is a multidisciplinary group that was formed and has representatives from Strong Memorial Hospital, Rochester General Hospital, social workers, clinicians, representatives from the City of Rochester, Pathway to Peace, Rise Up Rochester, the Rochester Police Department, and the Rochester City School District. Our first anti-violence poster contest is one of the first initiatives that this group has designed to promote awareness and to send a message of nonviolence. Our first one was held in April of 2010, and all students in the Rochester City School District are eligible to participate. The winners receive a prize, in addition to recognition here at the Board of Education business meeting, and an opportunity to see their artwork up on billboards throughout the city. So this year and now we're going to be celebrating the winners for the 2012 award, and I'd like to introduce Jeff and also Vilma Campbell. They have a little bit, and then we'll be giving them out.
Hi, my name's Jed Metzger. I'm a social work faculty at Nazareth College, and I'm one of the founders of Rise Up Rochester. I went into 3 classrooms this year to provide curriculum. I went into 5th grade classrooms in number 41 and 45, and a 4th grade classroom in number 25. And I was struck by 2 things. Number 1 was the overwhelming amount of violence in the lives of the kids. If I asked them to raise their hand who had had a close family member, parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, brother, sister murdered, about half the kids in each of those 3 classrooms raised their hand. And a similar number had raised their hand if I asked them how many of them had a dad in prison. So I was just struck by that. The other thing I was really struck by was that the teachers knew their kids. In each room, the teachers already knew that information. They weren't there just to do reading and math. They were there for the whole lives of the kids. And I think that says a tremendous amount about how we can change the culture in Rochester and end murder. Murder is a behavior. We can change behavior. And I think that these kids are a fantastic example. Their work is something for us all to live by. Thank you very much.
I just want to take a moment to say thank you very much for the board for allowing us to take this moment to celebrate the talent that you have. This is truly a platform for the children to speak about having safe neighborhoods. So, without any further ado, before I do that, I want the board to know that this has been a tremendously invigorating partnership that we have had with both Debbie Harloff and with Gladys Pedrazo Burgos. If it hadn't been for them, I wouldn't know how we would have done this. So I just want you to know that they have been extremely instrumental in helping us with this. So let us get these names and let me find out who's here. Please don't, I hope I don't destroy anyone's name. But if so, just tell me. Tamara McCullough?
Come on up. Come on up.
Come up. Please.
Don't be shy. It's okay.
We have a certificate as well as your poster. We were very pleased to get the posters that were made up. So we have to look. Debbie, I need your help. We can get this through. Ariel Bowman. Ariel Bowman. Bailey Wilbur. We have, wait, this one. We have this for you. So this is what your billboard is going to look like when we put it up. So you'll see this in the community. You're welcome. Christian Davis. Christian Davis. Segal. Segal. William Peller. Brandon Diaz. Do we have Brandon? Where is Brandon? Oh, okay. Charlize Rivera. Alexia Facey. Picture. Turn around. Oops. Promise not to break like that. Okay. J. Brom Cabrera. Sada Thin. Emily Muka. Chaz Robinson. Pretty cool. Thank you. Phelan Rendon. Phelan Rendon. Anya Rivera.
I'll get a picture of you in that. Thank you.
That's it.
That's it.
Right here. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
If the board could stay up there, we're going to do the Student Leadership Congress Senior Recognition now. So, Mary, if you want to start.
Why don't you guys all come outside? I'm going to take a picture.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mary Doyle. I'm Chief of Staff, and I have the pleasure of working with our Student Leadership Congress, who are young leaders in our district, grades 6 through 12, and we meet monthly. These are students who are really leaders inside and outside of the classroom, and we seek to address issues in the district and come together to discuss important issues to the students. Tonight we want to recognize a few seniors, and I'm going to let Sophie Gallivan speak a little bit about these students.
Sorry, Mary. If anyone who's in Student Leadership Congress could come up to the podium, that'd be great. So Gwen and Marcus and Sabrina and Finn, too. And Chastity, is that you? Okay. Okay, cool. That was supposed to be a surprise. Okay. Okay, so everyone in SLC, we've all become like a really close family and a great group of friends. I'm going to start with Chastity, who's from School of the Arts. She has been a great member of Student Leadership Congress. She's gone on a lot of outings with us, and she's been super dedicated, so I would like to thank her for all she's done. We've become friends in the past year that we've been together. What school are you going to? UB. She's going to the University of Buffalo, so Chastity. And then Sabrina Campbell, she goes to East and is graduating a year early. She's going to CUNY Lehman, which is in the city. She has been a part of Student Leadership Congress. She's been super instrumental. Right now she's helping us in a alumni and student college readiness initiative that the district is trying to get together. And she's also going to Washington with us in June. So thank you for all you've done. We're going to miss you all, but yeah. Next is Gwen. She's one of my good friends. I see her in the halls every day. I've known her for the past 2 years, but she joined Student Leadership Congress this year. She's been a super active member, even though she does a ton of extracurriculars like drama club and tennis and after school extra help. So I would like to congratulate Gwen and thank her for all she's done. Oh, and Gwen is going to Alfred University. And Marcus, he is the kind of guy who you can say, Marcus, I need you to come to Buffalo with me next week to go to a board meeting to advocate for student representation. And he'll say, okay, sure. He is one of the members who's super dedicated and will do anything, and we're going to miss him. He's going to Finger Lakes Community College. So, Marcus. We would also like to recognize 2 adults here. One is Mary Doyle. We love Mary. Mary began with Student Leadership Congress at the end of last year, and everyone in SLC has become super close to Mary. We all love, come on, Mary, get in the limelight. She has become a leader in the group, a mentor, and a close friend, we like to think of her. And we're excited to work with her, those of us who aren't graduating, in the years to come. So thank you for all you do. Flowers are for you, Mary. And then James, if you could come here. James. Every time students come into central office for board meetings or Student Leadership Congress, we are always greeted by a friendly face. James always asks us how we're doing and engages us in conversations and things that it makes us laugh every single time we see him. We got you flowers too, James. James is always kind and ready to greet us with a smile, which seems simple. James is always kind and ready and greets us with a smile, which seems simple, but it goes a long way with us. So we'd like to thank him for all he does, and yeah. Thank you. And the reason we did this at this meeting is because we'll be in Washington for the June meeting, so this is actually our last board meeting of the year, so thank you. He's got a while. I know. You got lots of board meetings left.
So thank you. Thank you to the poster contest. Again, a special thanks to Gladys Pedraza Burgos and Debbie Harloff for leading the district's efforts with the poster contest. And also, thank you very much to the hard work of our Student Leadership Congress. They have a great leader in Sophie Gallivan, and we wish all of the seniors best of luck. We are going to start our formal portion of the meeting, and we're going to start with an act of reverence and pledge allegiance to the flag, and we will have the Pledge of Allegiance led by our student rep. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have one acceptance of minutes from the April 26th business meeting. I'll entertain a motion to accept those minutes. It's been moved by Commissioner Elliott. Is there a second? Second. It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. 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 The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Before we get to our speakers, I believe Mr. Paul Speranza, is he here? Mr. Speranza, if you can come up to the podium. As many of you know, many of you have had the opportunity to talk with Paul, and he's been a hard worker over the last few months working on an exciting opportunity over at and also, I'm sorry, Miss Arison from College Prep. He's been working tirelessly to bring various sectors of the community together to talk about extended day at this building. And there's some people here that have been lending their support to this. And I just want to recognize these folks because I think that they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I think that it illustrates when you have community folks working together on a common goal from an organic level, we can accomplish big things. And what I like is how this idea, the seeds were planted at the school. This wasn't something that came from central office or Washington, D.C. or somewhere else. It came from someone in the community, and the seeds were germinated at the school, and the school first weighed in and then reached out to the larger community to lend their support. So I know there's some folks here, so just bear with me when I call your name. If you can just stand, maybe you can stay standing while Paul gives his brief presentation. You're going to be brief, right, Paul? I promise. Yeah, he promises to be brief. Regent Wade Norwood, is Wade here? I thought I saw Wade. Adam Urbanski from the Teachers Union, I believe Adam is here. Sandy Parker, I saw her from the Business Alliance. Sandy's here. Patty Utero, I saw from the mayor's office. Patty, thanks for coming. Tracy Miller, who was assistant to the council president. I don't know if, yep, there's Tracy. Elbert Jones, who works in Dave Gantz's office. I thought I saw Elbert. And then there's students. Marsha Oliver, is she here? Is Marsha here? Frank Donalds, Trey Traver, Sabata Harley, George Roba, Zachary Vega. These are all students. They're probably at home studying, or they might be downstairs. Candace Lucas is here from the Parent Advisory Council. Candace, if you can just stand. Felix Jacobs, I'm not sure if Felix is here or not. Ernest Flagler Mitchell, I'm not sure if he's here. Tara Johnson, who's also a parent. Loretta Libanow, not sure if she's here. Glenn Cotton, Glenda Powell. And then we have some teachers that were, I'm not sure if they're here or not, but they also worked at this effort. Stephen Soprano, Eric Leroy, Michael Carey, Gary Reynolds, Dr. Mary Aronson, who's here, Michael Legault, James Lukens, Meade Neilman, Lori Lagola, Douglas Allard, Gene Feldman. And then some of our faith-based folks, Reverend Reuben Goff Jr., I'm not sure if Reverend Goff is, yes, Reverend Goff is here. Thank you for coming, sir. Reverend Roosevelt Dixon, Bishop Willie Davis Jr., not sure if he made it in. Dr. Ricky Harvey, and then Carrie Remus, is she here? Sheila Williams, and Holly Budd from the Max Ferris Foundation. Holly, thanks for coming. Peter Carpino from the United Way. I thought I saw Pete earlier. Ed Doherty from the Community Foundation. Thanks, Ed. And John Urban, who I thought I saw from the Greater Rochester Health Foundation. I want to thank you all for coming, and also the people who I named who couldn't be here, who worked on this effort. And Paul, I'll turn it over to you and allow you to have the podium.
Thank you. Good evening, President Evans, esteemed members of the Board of Education, guests in the audience. I'm Paul Speranza. I'm a local citizen. I'm a social advocate, and I've spent a good portion of my adult volunteer life working on various education projects. Several months ago, I began reading in the newspaper that the performance of the students in the city school district was not nearly as high as it could be. As we see, many of the students aren't ready for a vocation, they are not ready for college, they're not ready for life. And all of us together, we believe, can do an even better job. And that's why we're here this evening. What I thought about was, if the students had, in one school, a longer school period, a longer school day, a longer school week, and a longer school year, coupled with using greater technology than we do today and unlimited volunteers, providing each and every student all the tools they need to succeed, coming together as a community, we think we can do a much better job and have terrific results. I took that idea to my good friend Wade Norwood, who's in the audience, and he agreed with me that it made some sense. So together we went to Superintendent Vargas, thank you very much, and he agreed that the idea made some sense. In doing so, he immediately picked a Northeast Preparatory High School. He gave us some resources from his staff that we could work with to help develop the plan. Thank you also for that. And we worked from the very beginning with Adam Urbanski, and he was a great counselor and continues to be. Thank you for your assistance. We then reached out to the school board with the program, and we met with President Evans and Vice President Cruz, and they were supportive, and they recommended that we meet with each and every member of the board, and we did reach out to each and every member of the board. As you'll find from the document that's in front of you, we're on the 6th draft, and the reason for that, I'm not sure there'll ever be a final draft, because every time we meet with someone, they have some great ideas, and we incorporate them as well. So moving forward, once we had gotten the communications with the board, we thought the next thing we needed to do is reach out to the community. And we did that. We reached out to the faith-based community. I have some representatives here tonight, the political community, the not-for-profit community, organized labor, the business community, and we believe in an unprecedented way, all of us have come together around this one initiative. Our view is that we tonight are here to stand shoulder to shoulder, and we think we have the opportunity to significantly and positively change the lives of the students at Northeast Preparatory School, and if they do well, then hopefully the whole school district. We want to be able to have a program that can be replicated throughout the district. And the last thing I would say is for the folks, you have such a group here, if the folks that are here to support this would just step forward for a moment, I'd just like to be able to show the support. I'll like to take 5 or 10 seconds to do it, but if you're here to support this initiative, if you wouldn't mind just coming forward and stand with Mary Aronson and me. And so basically what we'd like to be able to do is, on behalf of the entire community, it's an unprecedented group of stakeholders. This is, as I said, students, parents, teachers, administration, all the groups we talked about before. So together we respectfully request the board to consider the resolution that's now before you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your great support of our schools. I always say that it's easy to be on the sidelines when we talk about education. There's many people that are on the sidelines and they don't come to the front line. So it's always important when we have individuals who want to come to the front line. So I thank you all for your support, and Paul, I thank you for leading the effort. Thank you. You all have a resolution in front of you. It's Resolution 803, and I'll just read it. This is basically a resolution that just supports the effort. It's general. We continue to work on the nuts and bolts, obviously, but it says, whereas the district is committed to its mission of providing quality education that ensures our students graduate with the skills to be successful and productive in a global economy, and whereas the vested interest to improve public education and ultimately the moral responsibility to develop and prepare the children of Rochester to be successful is shared by the parents, the Board of Education, our collective bargaining partners, and district administration, as well as the greater Rochester community, included public and private partners, faith-based organizations, institutions of higher education, parent-teacher groups, health and social service agencies, and City Hall. And whereas the district recognizes that reaching out, collaborating, and partnering with the greater community is integral to the ultimate success of the children of Rochester, and whereas the superintendent proposes the introduction of extended learning concept to be developed through collaboration with strategic community partners and include such features as extended learning opportunities, longer school periods, school days, school weeks, and school years, the expansion of the current school board planning team, and increased academic and non-academic support, including a greater use of the technology and volunteers for students at Northeast College Preparatory High School at the Douglas campus. And whereas several community leaders who have long-standing and valued community partners have expressed an interest in advancing and supporting the extended learning concept at Northeast College Preparatory High School at the Douglas campus, therefore be it resolved that the board approves the superintendent's recommendation to introduce the extended learning concept at the Northeast College Preparatory High School at the Douglas campus starting in September 2012, and be it further resolved that the superintendent shall collaborate with the strategic community partners to implement the extended learning concept for Northeast College Preparatory High School at Douglas campus. And Mr. Superintendent, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to this, being that you also have been integral in pulling this together.
Just want to say thank you, and you are an example of what I think it needs to be done. The Rochester City School District has the ultimate responsibility for educating our kids, as I said before, but we cannot do it alone. I cannot thank Paul enough. When he met with me, actually it was longer than 3 months, Paul, that you've been working on this. You've been very kind. But it's been a long time, but when you come with an idea that I believe to be so innovative, it seems like common sense, because like giving a student more longer school day. We shouldn't be sending them, at 3 o'clock home when they have still work to do. more than we can offer to them. It seems like a simple idea, but it's something that requires the collaboration of all of us. And to have a partner like you, I mean plural, all of you, it's just incredible. And I think that this is going to be a breakthrough for this community. That is one of your criteria, Paul, that this could be replicated. If we only can do this Northeast, which I think I'm certain that we'll be successful there, it would be a good thing. But if we can replicate it throughout the district, it would be a great model. And by the way, let me say this I have said to a couple of people, and then I will conclude. Many people say to me, charter school or public school. I say, look, what this program will provide, or this initiative, is the same kind of flexibility that some of our charter schools are providing in our community. They're giving longer day, longer school year, and more flexibility for our teacher, more flexibility for the administration and the community to do the job that we need to do on behalf of our kids. Thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you. You have a resolution before you. I won't blame the administration, but this resolution should have been sent to you last week, as I have said. So I'll entertain a motion to waive the 48-hour rule. Moved. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. The ayes have it.
One opposed.
One opposed. Commissioner Powell.
Two opposed.
Two opposed. And I'll entertain a motion for Resolution 803.
So
Is there a second? Second. Second. Discussion?
yes. President Evans, let me, since we have a lot of power brokers in the room, let me just sort of share my concern about this program. Although I commend the community for wanting to do something like this, but it's the same with the Hillside Work Scholarship model and other models where you sort of go in and get those that are just about to, they're going to make it. What would have been more credible to me is if you would have went to Charlotte, for example, some place where there is a need, because what happens is that those who are dropping out of school are the ones that are causing our community the most devastation. And while I thank you for this, what I'm hoping that you will take away from what I'm saying is that there's more work to do than just this. Thank you for that. But what about the young people who are murdering out there, who have dropped out of school? That's where the real work has got to be. And it seems to me that the people in this community who has the money are not listening to that. Really is where the issue has got to be. So while I thank you for this work, keep in mind that you've got to go deeper if you want to change things in this community. And if we're going to have a community that's economically viable, this community is rates 11th in terms of child poverty. But you got to go and you have to figure out the underlying problems that are going on within this community. And it just seems to me that people who have the money are just looking at the superficial part. So while I think that this can work for perhaps Northeast, keep in mind you may have to do something different. You may not be able to replicate this model for Charlotte or for some other schools. And let me just also say, this is tough work. This is not easy work. And so if you're sitting back, just believing that you'll see it. You will see how difficult this work is. And so that's what those who have the money have to keep in mind. You've got to make sure you're putting more money into this, because it's not going to it's not going to meet the needs of those young people in our communities who are killing each other, who are having babies before they're ready. Those are the issues that I want you all to be able to address. Then, in my mind, you'll be more credible to me. So while I thank you for that work, I also believe you got to look at those real issues that are going on in our community and be able to address, roll up your sleeves and address those issues if we're going to see a change in our community, a real change in our community. Because many of those students are already going to make it. You're going to give them the push, but it's not going to be a significant effort, in my opinion, to really make a difference within our entire community. I'm tired of seeing young people killing each other, but it's because, in many respects, that our school district, we have not given them the proper education to want to stay in school. So thank you very much, but I just want to say that this is deeper. And if you get frustrated, I'm telling you, I've already told you so, because this is not easy work. Thank you,
Commissioner Elliott.
Ms. Elliott, May I respond? On behalf of the community, we accept the challenge. We have to start someplace. We did rely on the superintendent to pick this particular school for particular reasons, but we understand, and we all believe that an education for each and every child is a civil right of the 21st century. We also believe that there can be multiple pathways to success.
Okay,
and so if we can reach out and find what resonates with that particular student. What we did this past week is we interviewed every student at Northeast. If this works well, we should be able to do that with others as well. We need to get the students earlier. We need to provide them with all the tools they need to succeed. And thank you very much for sharing your point of view. That's why we're here this evening. So hopefully we can work together.
Thank you. Mr. Superintendent.
Actually, Commissioner Elliott, I take full responsibility. They asked me, Paul in particular, precisely what you asked. He asked me for the most challenging school.
Okay.
And my thought was that you have to start where the condition is more ready for this kind of collaboration to move forward. But you rest assured, as I said earlier, that this is just the beginning. But I take full responsibility for me selecting that as school rather than the one that you are suggesting.
Commissioner Campos.
And I hear everything that you're saying. One of the things I'm excited about is the fact that New York State is talking about college readiness. So just because they're graduating our high schools doesn't mean that they're college ready. And we had a 5% college readiness. So I'm hoping that with the extended day and with additional resources to these students, even if they're going to graduate, they're going to stay in college, and the college retention is going to be that they're going to graduate college so that they can be productive. So I just thank you all so much for your support and commitment to our schools. And thank you, Mary, too. Wow.
Thank you. Commissioner White.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Sorry for being late. I was in the wonderful state of Philadelphia. Just drove back.
Wonderful state of Philadelphia.
Well, it is. Close to it. I was in the state of Pennsylvania, in the city of Philadelphia.
Graduated from Rochester City.
I did, it's drive lag, I think is what it is. But I did want to say, I spoke to Mrs. Speranza, and it was a great conversation, and I caught the tail end of your remarks, Commissioner Elliott, and I did hear what you said, Dr. Vargas, and it's good to hear that, because one of the things that Paul and I shared was a concern that, and I think this is what you were saying, that we really needed to get to the schools that were most challenged, and there were schools already in existence that had support there. And Paul was in agreement. And I believe him that he is looking for another opportunity once we prove that this can work. And with this great staff, I don't see how it could turn out otherwise. So I look forward to that additional challenge. Paul and I also talked about our hope and our prayer that you'll be willing to come before the Excellent Student Achievement Committee and have a conversation with us about how things are going and how we could expand this to other schools in our city. And let me repeat, I was actually just talking before I was looking. I'm looking at you guys, and it's our best and our brightest in the community. It's a blessing to have you. I see all the folks from teachers, and I see people of color, I see women, I see men, I see old colleagues that I used to work with that know the city. I see leaders of our community. So this is, Paul, you didn't tell me you had assembled such a great team. So thank you for your willingness to help out.
Commissioner Powell.
Mr. White, I just want to add thank you very much. And we did take into account comments of the various members of the board, including you in terms of governance, number one, and number two, thank you. I'm reading your book, and it's excellent.
Thank you.
Commissioner Powell.
Yeah, well, with this assemblage of dignitaries, I feel a certain amount of intimidation against verbalizing any concerns or objections at all, but I'm equally uncomfortable with the possibility that that was exactly the intent. I have to say what's on my mind. And it's certainly not my intention to stand against any of you. I assure you that I have no objection to the concept. In fact, I can't fathom anyone who would be opposed to extended day, targeted technology, unlimited volunteers, as described by Mr. Speranza. But I do have concerns about certain legalities around the school governance. I question whether we, the Board of Education, have the authority to delegate or devolve any of our governance authority. And I also fear that these concerns can't be adequately addressed on such short notice. So notwithstanding that we just waived the 48-hour rule, I ask this body to table the resolution in favor of adequate time to ask and get answers to the questions, the legal questions. And ensure that the resolution can't be invalidated in the future because we don't have the authority to devolve our governance obligations.
May I respond? Again, I did have an opportunity to speak to some other board members after I did speak to you, and now we're in the 6th draft. As you'll find in the 6th draft, I think that would answer your questions. Right. The governance stays exactly the way it is, a school-based planning team, period. That was suggested by Ed Mervansky. It was suggested by Van White. It was suggested by others. We listened to you, and I think, thank you, I think that's an important factor. If we're going to do this together as a community, we have to work together and listen to each other. And so the thought here was, because there might have been some concern around that, we changed it. And quite frankly, as I said before, I don't believe there'll ever be a final draft. As people have additional suggestions, we will add those as well. So what I'm hoping for is that, based on the group here tonight, they were assembled in good faith, and hopefully you take it as good faith. These are people who've spent their time and effort and careers helping others, and so that's why they're here. But hopefully if you do take a look, Ms. Powell, at the way it reads now, there is not what was in the earlier version when I met with you, so hopefully that's acceptable to you.
Okay, well, that may be true, and I hate to keep everybody standing like this, but...
we'll stand as long as it takes.
So if this is a program that just happens to wrap around the entire school, that makes perfect sense. That school-based planning team would be the most actively engaged governing body. But in your description on page 1, under bullet 3, governance, the school will be governed by. There's my objection. Right there, one sentence, easy to find. If this is a program that we're supporting, not a problem. If this is a revamping of the school and the entire school and everything associated with the school falls under this, now I've got a problem because I don't think we have the authority to do what you're asking us to do, and that being delegate our authority to a school-based planning team.
Yeah, the only point I would add is that, as it was pointed out, that this is the 6th draft, and the reason why I read the resolution out loud was because the resolution does not talk about governance models or any of the other things. So I'm sure that if you could think of other language, Commissioner Powell, draft 7 could maybe have some different language, but I think the overall resolution is generally the board going on record as supporting this concept.
Ms. Powell, what I would say is a lot of people have spent a lot of time and effort on this. If you have wording that is acceptable to you, we want to put the children number 1. That's all we want to do. If you have some wording that you'd like to propose, it's fine with us.
Well, the only wording that matters is what's in the resolution. So perhaps we can be very clear and provide some amendment to the resolution itself that clarifies this as a wraparound program. That would win over my support.
Thank you. Commissioner White.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is, I think it might have been helpful to have more time, but sometimes events don't allow that to happen, and by events I mean critical mass builds up, and you see all this powerful energy. I see principals, I see teachers, I see community leaders, business leaders, and you don't want to miss that opportunity. And I'm not for, and you know this, Commissioner Brown, I'm not for just putting something together because it looks good, but I think what looks good here is what you got is a bunch of people saying they're willing to do what is necessary. And Mr. Speranza's last comment is, if you know of some language that would make it work, let's talk about that. Let's put that in there. Maybe make a friendly amendment if that's necessary. But even his comment, it suggests what they're trying to accomplish here, which is to make it work. Right. Whatever you need. And that's what we're asking for. Let's make it work. Show us that this can work so we can replicate this. Right. I think that's all they're offering to do.
Right. Call a question.
Well, can I offer an amendment then? That is what we're discussing.
Point of order, you have a motion.
You have a motion on the floor.
It was never seconded.
Madam Clerk, was the motion moved? Okay, so We have a, let me get a motion on Resolution 803.
I thought we already did that.
It's been moved by
Second.
Commissioner Cruz, seconded by Commissioner Elliott, which we did. Commissioner Powell?
If I could offer an amendment to the first resolved, that in the second line where it says extended learning concept, that we be clear that this, and replace the word concept with extended learning program, and then an additional sentence indicating that the program governance will be as described in the proposal.
Okay. Is there a second to Commissioner Powell's motion?
I second that.
Seconded.
Okay.
Discussion on her language to add that to the Resolution 803. Hearing none, all those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Back to the original resolution, resolution number 803. All those in favor of Resolution 803, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much, Paul Speranza.
And the entire team.
Let me thank, before you all sit down, just let me thank again all of you for being here. I just really can't stress enough again. We talk all the time about people on the sidelines. This is evidence of people coming to the front lines. We need to get more people off. It's easy to write about how we need to rescue our kids. It's easy to talk about how we need to rescue our kids. It's hard to, as Commissioner Elliott said, it's hard work to rescue our kids. And you all have come from the sidelines to the front lines, and I want to thank you for that. So with that, we'll take a 2-minute bathroom break, and then we will come back with our speakers on an agenda item. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. 5-minute adjournment. For tomorrow, for that conference. And I'm coming back late Thursday night. So,
just as soon as I get outside.
You say Mr. Jed. So unless you told me to say that, but you don't. Oh, okay, all right, but we give, like, I'm gonna give this man his respect as the Reverend. We don't say Mr. James or Mr. We don't say Rupert to him. We say it's Mr. Rupert. So I'm just letting you know this is culture. This is culture. Okay, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing better than good. Better than good.
You gonna make that thing work?
Thank you.
You gonna make it work?
adjournment. We have one last recognition before we get to our speakers. If I could have my board colleagues come down. No, stand. We love recognition. We love recognition. Let's give people our flowers while they still can smell them, right? I always tell people, I don't want people, when I'm gone, crying and all that other stuff. We want to tell people when they're doing a good job, when they can hear it. Assistant principal, we're going to recognize Joan Arthur. Joan up here? Joan is the assistant principal at James Audubon School number 33. She's joined here by Principal Dr. Robert Elson. Larry Elson, I'm sorry. Joan Arthur was recently named the New York State Assistant Principal of the Year. Ms. Arthur has worked in the Rochester City School District for 25 years. She has been a classroom teacher, intervention teacher, basic skills teacher, and LEP teacher. Ms. Arthur received a Bachelor's of Arts degree from Nazareth College in the field of theology, along with elementary education certification. She received a Master's of Science degree with a reading certification from Nazareth College. Ms. Arthur received a Certificate of Advanced Studies in Education Administration from SUNY Brockport, and she's here with Principal Elson. And I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add. She is your vice principal. So, about this recognition.
Not a problem. Good evening to everyone. I just found out this evening that I have been asked to come and speak. I did not prepare any remarks, but when I don't prepare remarks, I have a tendency of going on and on and on and on, as noted by our staff. So I realize there's a lot more to come. And when I arrived 13 years ago at School 33, I'm going to say John James Audubon School 33 because I like to give the full name of the place where we are employed. Joan was already on board as an assistant principal. And I have watched Joan, and there are some others, Denise Rainey, who's still in the district, as they carry forth instructionally within the school building. I watched, Denise has moved on to become principal. I watched Joan how she interacted with the students. I've watched as she interacted with parents and as she continues to do so, and also with the community at large. And although I arrived at school, John James Audubon School 33 as principal, I have no problems sharing with anyone whom I work with. I have learned quite a bit from Ms. Arthur as well in terms of the leadership role as she carried out her responsibilities within the school building. When the opportunity, and I teased Joan, and I have said to her about being acknowledged, being nominated for awards, and she has said many, many times, no, I don't need that recognition. I'm happy for what I do in terms of working with children and their families. Well, this time around, the opportunity came around, and I didn't bother asking the question at this point. I just simply completed the application, submitted the application. I asked for some other references to go with the application, and lo and behold, when I received information before Joan, by the way, that she had been screened in for the Assistant Principal of the Year in New York State, I'm thinking, wow, what an honor, and I'm sure very, very deserving in terms of all the years, overall 33 years I've been told, most of it here in the city school district. And so a very deserving person, was very happy for her, and she has found out some other things as well. She was acknowledged in Albany not too long ago, and that acknowledgement, according to the Saney's attorneys, may come with an invitation to Washington, D.C. To stand before our president. So Joan, again, congratulations, just well-deserved, in fact, overdue, and I'm very happy for you. And so, again, there's an award that should have happened, in my opinion, many, many years ago. So again, congratulations for all that you do. For all that you do for children and their families.
I would like to thank the board, President Evans and Superintendent Vargas for inviting me tonight. And as I said at one of the events, I'm just a vice principal, so I don't speak as much as principals. So with that, thank you very much for this recognition.
Thank you. We will now move to speakers addressing the agenda item. We do have a long list of speakers. Each speaker, I would ask that when I call your name, you come up. Okay. When I ask that you call your name, I will ask that you, when I call your name, that you will come up, just say your name, your affiliation, and then you will have 2 minutes. And then I ask when you hear the timer that you would conclude your remarks. I understand some folks aren't here. But we'll start with a student, Tim Holloway. Is Tim here?
I'm Timothy Holloway. I'm a sophomore at Vanguard Collegiate High School. And before I start, I just want to thank everyone up here for letting me speak today. At Vanguard, the student body took a vote on whether we wanted Ms. Jones to continue as our principal. We need you to know that 100% of our students voted to keep Ms. Jones. I would also like to say I moved from Northwest to Vanguard. From failure to success, Ms. Jones has made an impact on my life. The day I received the news, I thought I was going to die. No other principal has impacted a school, nor has helped change kids' lives and push them to success and have so much passion in so many students. I have known Carol Jones since 7th grade, and she has done nothing but help children and go beyond to make sure they succeed. Ms. Jones should not leave because kids' hearts will be broken and our Vanguard family will break apart. Every kid in our school is a work of art that creates a masterpiece. I'd also like to leave and say, does my vote count today?
Thank you. Mia Polanco. Mia Polanco. And then Joseph Soto and KL Likely, if you can come forward also.
Hi, my name is Mia Polanco, and I am a 10th grader at Vanguard. I have known Ms. Jones since I was an 8th grader at East, and she was my house administrator. We got off to a rocky start. Before she came, I didn't listen to anybody. I remember I was in the hall, and she told me to get to class, and I cussed her out. If you knew Ms. Jones, you know she doesn't play. It took me a little while to figure out that because I felt the need to say what was on my mind frequently. Regardless of the situation, needless to say, I spent a lot of time in her office. I didn't have a lot of respect for anybody, much less the adults around me. But over the time, I grew to respect Ms. Jones because when she speaks to me, she speaks some real life stuff that gets you to think about the future and how you're going to change to make a better life for you and your family. When school recruitment day came around, I found out Ms. Jones was starting up a new school, Vanguard. I asked her if I could come to Vanguard to make a change for myself. I trusted that she would be there for me. Ms. Jones has never let me down. Sometimes I get off track, and she's there to push me forward. For example, right before Christmas break, Ms. Jones looked at all of our third market period grades and came around to every class to tell us to step up our game. Since then, my GPA has gone from a 1.0 to a high 2.0. That may not seem like a lot to you, but teachers really push you to expect a lot from you. So to me, this is a big achievement, and it's the highest GPA I ever had. I have never worked so hard in school until I came here. Oh, it's over? No. With Ms. Jones, whenever she's in the room, you feel like you can do whatever you set your mind to. If your mind is wandering, she helps set you straight. When I wake up in the morning, I want to go to school.
So Mia, we were giving you a round of applause for your GPA. Keep up the good work. Joseph Soto.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you for letting me speak here today. The first day that I met Ms. Jones, I was at East with Mia, and Ms. Jones, like Mia said, she told us to get to class, and we cursed her out. And she sent us to the ISS room, and later that day, she came down to the ISS room, and she did something that really shocked me, something that I won't ever forget. She asked us if we wanted another chance to be friends and another chance to be principal-like student, to refresh, start over. And I said yes. And ever since then, it's been great. She's been a great motivation. She's a hard worker. Every time she sees me in the hallway, she says hi. She remembers my name. She says, Joseph Soto, hello, good morning. I don't get that from a lot of teachers or students. And then when she came around and she said, do we want to go to her school? I don't know. I had all F's at East. I had 0.40s. Like, my grades were horrible. I didn't even want to go to school. I just went to school to play around, to skip. But then when Ms. Jones said that there's a new school, I thought maybe I could do something better for myself. Maybe that's a new hope, something different. So I went to that school, and it's been great. Like, all the students are real, everything's real. Like, the teachers are supportive. Ms. Jones makes sure that everyone feels like they're at home. When she speaks to you, it's like she's speaking to you. She's not speaking to a student. She's speaking to Joseph Soto. When she says good morning, when she says how's your grade, when she says how was your day, she actually cares, and it helps. It motivates me and other students to try harder. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. KL Likely?
Good afternoon. My name is KL Likely. And if I could tell you one thing about Ms. Jones, it would be that she is very encouraging and she is very patient. She also treats us like one of her own children, and she expects a lot from us. She she also has made a difference in my life by pushing me, not just me, but others, to always do their best. I urge you not to move Ms. Jones from Vanguard because she is wonderful. She is a wonderful principal, and she was a mentor and a coach. I also respect Ms. Jones because when our freshman basketball team wasn't doing so good in grades, she canceled the remainder of our season because she wanted us to focus on our grades first. At first, I didn't agree because I thought she was just doing it to be mean, but I realized that she was making us student athletes instead of just athletes.
Thank you. I'm going to call up our next 4 speakers. Dorian Nelson. Dorian, come on up. Janelle Bryce. Demetria Barnes. And Lisa Mitchell.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dorian Nelson. I'd like to thank you all for allowing me to speak tonight. During the orientation of Vanguard Collegiate High School, I was terrified of being in a new school. I thought I was going to make it and be able to fit in Vanguard. That was the day I met Ms. Jones. Ever since then, she's been there for me. She made sure I was safe every day, that I had everything I needed, and that I was always doing my best. She encouraged me to work to the best of my ability. I know work is hard to succeed and to make her proud. Ms. Jones is not only the mother of Vanguard Collegiate High School, she's the heartthrob and the best that allows us to keep going every day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the Board of Education. My name is Janelle Bryce, a sophomore at Vanguard Collegiate High School. Ms. Jones may be just a principal or even an employee to you, but to us, Ms. Jones is a mother, a friend, a disciplinarian, and the best person you could put in that position. Ms. Jones has brought many students, including myself, to find their work ethic. She showed us what family should be. Ms. Jones brings people together to help us from all places. In our first year, she created a program that promoted health and good study habits. This was known as Crammin' and Jammin'. In this program, students were allowed to stay after school Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, where they stayed to complete classwork and any other assignments. After this process, they were allowed to change and partake in a fun, healthy workout with teachers and any other staff members. In our second year, she created another program, similar but not exactly the same. Students were allowed to stay after school and partake in a study session, but we didn't get to exercise as we did before, but she still tried to promote health as best as she could. This was also offered on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. She provided us with tutors from outside of our building to help students in any way possible. If you take Ms. Jones, the Vanguard will never be the same. It is not only a school, it is a family. Please don't change our family. Ms. Jones loves and cares about us all. If you take our mom, what will happen to her children? Please don't make us orphans. Children need a mother as a school needs a principal. What about Vanguardians? What about us?
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Demetria Barnes. I would like to start off by saying thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I have been attending Vanguard Collegiate High School for 2 years. Ms. Jones means everything to me. I don't know what I would do if she wasn't my principal anymore. Ms. Jones made it her business to make me feel welcome when I arrived at Vanguard. We are a family at Vanguard. Ms. Jones has changed my whole perspective on life. She has made a positive change in many people's lives. She is making a difference in her school. What about us? Ms. Jones has made it clear to me and all her other students that no matter what your background may be, don't use that as an excuse. I love Ms. Jones to death and really appreciate all the hard work that she has put into me and others. And so I ask again, what about us, the people's lives that she has changed? Please keep Ms. Jones as a Vanguard principal.
Thank you.
First of all, good evening to the board and the ladies and gentlemen who took the time to come out today. My name is Lisa Mitchell, and I'm a freshman at Vanguard. Before I came to this school, I was a terrible student who displayed apathy for not only education, but for my own life. I can honestly say that without the influence of Ms. Jones, I wouldn't even be in school anymore. She encourages tutoring, shows sympathy, and verifies each and every student's self-worth. Many students like myself have similar stories, and never before has anyone touched my life so significantly. If there's no one by my side, I know that I can count on Ms. Jones. This goes for all the students here. Since coming to Vanguard, my GPA has went from a 0.35 to a 2.64. She never looked at my past. She never looked at my past but saw my potential, and I will always love her for that. I've been steadily improving my grades and myself, and I'm confident in getting a 3.0 next marking period. Ms. Jones is like a second mother to me and anyone who knows her. Students can't help but be happy around her. We are a family, and Ms. Jones is the sticky, sweet stuff that holds us together. She understands and relates to us, making us more provoked to come to school. She lets us know that we're loved, and that makes us want her to be proud of us, so we strive to succeed. I have a newfound hunger for education, and Ms. Jones brought it out of me. I am speaking from my experiences, heart, and mind on behalf of our family. Will our voices be heard?
Thank you. I'll call up our next couple of students. Lee Reagans, Angelise McKnight, Tatiana Navarez, and Marcus Cook.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I would just like to say, just think about the question I'm about to ask you. What about us? Just let it sit in your head. Why do you choose to focus on our failing grades? Can you just give us a chance to just rise and see what we can do? And you say that every child is a work of art, create a masterpiece. Well, how can we do this if you keep taking the carpet from under our feet as we're trying to grow? And while that lovely lady in the back has been... That lovely lady in the back has put all her effort into making the school better. You're trying to take her away.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Angelise McKnight. I'm here today to express my concerns regarding my principal, Ms. Carol Jones, on the subject that she will be terminated from Vanguard Collegiate High School. I strongly disagree with the decision that the Board of Education is considering. Ms. Jones has made many valuable contributions. Ms. Jones is a very motivational person. She is a very optimistic person. I'm sure she has positively influenced many of her students. I recall many instances when she has personally affected me. There are numerous of times I no longer wanted to continue my education. However, when Ms. Jones was informed, she took the time to sit down with me and convince me otherwise. Ms. Jones means the world to me. She knows when a student is upset, and she would do everything in her power to make them feel at home. She sets up after-school tutoring to motivate students and help us with homework, makeup work, and more. More specifically, with the girls, Ms. Jones has set up cheerleading here at Vanguard. This motivates them because it is their grades are up to par, and they cannot continue to be a part of the cheerleading. I thank you for your time, and I would appreciate it if you let us keep our principal.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tatiana Narvaez. I'm here to speak about how Ms. Jones has shown me not only the value of education, but also the path to a better life. She is an excellent principal. She motivates us to do better in school. She talks to us and tells us how important school is. She tells us that if we stay in school, we will get a bright future and do something with our life, not just being in the streets. She knows when something is wrong and will do anything to help us with our problems. At the beginning of the school year, my grades were not that good, but she's made an after-school tutoring, and eventually my grades went up. I've been through a lot of drama this past year, but she's been there through it all. I love Ms. Jones, and I would never want her to leave Vanguard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcus Cook. I'm another East High student that came with Ms. Jones. There are many obstacles in life and school that makes us for a great and successful future that we will look back and see who helped us push forward. All of us at Vanguard are determined to make something of our lives. Our principal wants to open doors and pursue whatever we want as we put our minds to it. Our focus here tonight is the beloved face of Vanguard. That's Ms. Carol Jones. Word has it been brought to us that she is in danger of being removed from our school and family. We go through good times and bad times, but in the end, there's a smile because of the inspiration we get from each other and the relationship we build with our school in the past 2 years with teachers and Ms. Jones. We started with a small population of students and gained more this year, but we are still growing and will make mistakes along the way. As you can see, we are trying, and we are going to push through these obstacles with every intelligent mind we have and get. Without Ms. Jones, we are not complete. It is like losing a half of a whole, and we will be incomplete. Every day I see Ms. Jones, she has a lot of enthusiasm and makes us happy on our days where individuals will want to give up on things, but she gives us support that we achieve anything if we believe. Taking away Ms. Jones is taking away our motivation and core values she has set us to walk the halls by. Excellence, passion, integrity, and community. Epic. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next set of speakers, you can come forward. Ramia Scott, Shanique Davis, Crystal Stover, and Dajane Henderson.
Good evening. My name is Shanique Davis, and I am a sophomore at Vanguard Collegiate High School. Today, I will be speaking on behalf of Maria F. Scalise, Director of Communicating Development and Marketing of Bryan and Stratton College. She was unable to make it. Good evening, Rochester City School Board members. It has been a privilege to work with Carol Jones this past year as Bryan and Stratton College pencil partner. She has been an ideal partner. It was clear from the start we were both committed to creating a unique experience from her kids, and that's what we've been doing since September. Carol has been a pleasure to work with, always following through with passion on all we have agreed upon. It is in part because of her leadership that we have updated the middle college program for September 2012 to be better than ever, with 20 of her juniors attending Bryan and Stratton College as a part of their school day, earning up to 24 college credits while still in high school. These young people will follow a criminal justice track that is consistent with the law of enforcement theme she established at Vanguard Collegiate High School. It is evident that Carol has earned deep respect from her students and staff because that is how she treats them, the utmost respect. I have seen her repeatedly engage her students in the constructive ways, and it is a pleasure to watch each time I have left her school. I have found myself energized by her enthusiasm and shared belief that we need to do what is best for kids, which has been our guiding principle from the moment we met. I admire Carol Jones' integrity and proud to call her my principal partner. She is a wonderful example of the great things that are happening within the Rochester City School District.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am Crystal Stover, freshman at Vanguard Collegiate High School. Ms. Jones, principal of Vanguard, is the nicest person I know, not to mention very serious at times. Ms. Jones encouraged students to do their best in all subjects, even promoted the Get Your V On program after school for students who need help to succeed. To me, Ms. Jones should stay at Vanguard because I will have to get used to the new principal. I don't want to do that, so please let Ms. Jones stay on as principal of Vanguard. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Brandon Turner. I'm a sophomore at Vanguard Collegiate High School. I'm standing here on behalf of a fellow student that couldn't make it here today.
What's the name of the student?
DeAndre.
Okay, thank you.
How are you speaking for the person if you don't know their name?
DeJohn for Henderson, right? Okay, go ahead, sir.
Passion, integrity, community, and excellence. These 4 core values are set and placed within our walls, which makes Vanguard a standout from other high schools. In my mindset, Vanguard is like a chessboard. To me, the queen is the most valuable piece of the puzzle. I use my queen to set up future steps for my smaller pieces. Take my queen and you disrupt my plans of future steps to succeed in the game. What bugs me is the fact that I can't find the reason of how I lost my queen. Miss Jones is the queen in this equation. And us as students, we are the smaller pieces, pawns, rooks, etc. If we lose our queen, and for no reason at all, we are at jeopardy of losing our mindset of our future goals. So I stand here before you with one legitimate question. What about us?
Thank you. Our last students will be Dominique Perez. Dominique, if you're here, come forward. Christoph Shine. Tiana Chandler.
Good afternoon. My name is Dominique Perez, and I'm a freshman at Vanguard. I came into Vanguard not knowing the relationships I would build from the faculty. Now all of them, Ms. Jones really knows how to make a student feel special. Whenever I wanted to show poems or sing a song, I wrote. She listened. Whenever all the students wanted to get involved in activities which benefited the school, she was there. She's more than just a principal. She's our mother at Vanguard. So I ask, if students are the main focus, why would you want to take someone who means everything and is doing everything to have students come first? We love Ms. Jones, and we really truly need you to think about your decision.
Thank you.
My name is Christoph Shine. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the Board of Education. My name is Christoph Shine of Vanguard Collegiate High School, and I'm a sophomore at this particular school. When I first started at Vanguard, Ms. Jones has been there not only as a principal, a counselor, mentor, disciplinary, but also as a friend. Last year, when I had an encounter with another student and I was subject for a long-term suspension, she came to my hearing to defend me because she knows people make mistakes and have moments of weakness. And she thought I deserved a second chance. Ms. Jones has always been there for me, for her students, which I think she considers us, but not only as students, but also as a family. I consider Ms. Jones as a friend, but also to the family, a mother. I'm asking you today, as the Board of Education, please don't take our mother away. Thank you.
Thank you, Christoph.
Good afternoon. My name is Tiana Chandler. I'm a sophomore at Vanguard Collegiate High School. This is a poem for my principal. A principal is a person to laugh and cry with. A memory, someone who lends a helping hand. Though she may not be forever, and we may not end up together, the memories of a true Vanguard family will last forever. A principal is not a shadow or a servant, but someone who holds a piece of a person in her heart and will never be forgotten. She's someone who shares a smile, someone who brightens up your day, another mom who will joke and play. But what makes her a principal? is by saying your love will stay. And today, we would not lose you. So see you next year. Left Tayana Chandler.
Thank you. That concludes our students. Let's give our students a round of applause. It takes a lot for young people. Now we always have our students go first, just in case they have to go home and get their homework done. So, if any of you guys got to go and get your homework done, I understand that. We'll go to our parents next. We have four parents speaking, and I'll call you up if you could come up when I call your name. Heather Stubbs, Miss Stubbs here, followed by Brianna Watson. I don't know if Miss Watson here. Adrian Dorsey, Mr. Dorsey, and then lastly, Miss Pamela Brown. Miss Brown here. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Heather Stubbs, and I'm here to support Miss Jones. I met Miss Jones this year. I'm a parent of a freshman at Vanguard, and I've learned that Miss Jones knows what challenges the school faces and looks for ways to solve them. She's involved with my son if he ever has an issue, and all her kids. She built a relationship between me and her. She's active in all her school activities, and she has great teachers working with her. I got blindsided because it was so quick that, I just found out that she was going to be removed. So I don't know what the concerns were, but I know she's involved. She's a motivator. These are just descriptions of how I know her as a person. She's modest, she's effective, she's a leader, and she's concerned. So I actually like her, so I don't know why she's going to go somewhere. I think she should stay there and just build from the ground up. I'm on the school-based planning team, and, she's there. I get lost in the halls, she's there to take me out. I'm always getting lost in the halls. She's a real nice lady, and I don't think, this just came as a surprise because my son's been to different schools, and she's one of the ones that I really like, the principals. So if you consider the circumstances and with all the support she has here, if you could rethink and maybe go in our direction, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stubbs. Brianna Watson.
Hello, I'm Brianna Watson, and I'm here on behalf of my brother Dorian Nelson, which I am a guardian of. He's a freshman at Vanguard. Recently, our family had really experienced some tough times, and during those tough times, my brother's grades had really dropped. Ms. Jones was there for him before I had even met her, and I walked in, and she welcomed me with open arms. She sat in the office with me and my brother. We were able to talk about the school concerns as well as our family concerns and how they were impacting my brother. Ms. Jones, she had such a passion for my brother's success, and she sat there and we talked for maybe about an hour, and we came up with a plan to get my brother's grades back up, and also she was there as a mentor and a life coach to help us solve our problems as a family. This most recent marking period has ended, and my brother's grades has gone up dramatically. His attitude has changed. He's very happy, and he's headed towards the path of success. And I'm just here to say that I thank Ms. Jones for that, and why would you take that away from a student? It means so much to me with being a parent, I guess, in the sense of this school, and it means a lot to my brother that you keep his principal because that is his guiding light. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Watson. Mr. Dorsey?
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, my name is Adrian Dorsey. I'm the father of Demetria Barnes, a student at Vanguard High School. When I got the news that Jones was up for a possible removal from the school, again, reiterating the sentiments of another parent, it really blindsided me as well because I couldn't fathom what issues may arise. Again, I don't know all the politics, but to me, Mrs. Jones really envisions the whole idea of what a principal should be. She possesses extreme leadership qualities. She has great determination. But to me, most of all, she has awesome vision. She has a vision for Vanguard. She has a vision of what the school is to be. She has a vision for her students. She has a vision for their future. I've been out to Vanguard. I'm also on the school-based planning team. I've attended a lot of the functions going on at Vanguard, and I have seen like traumatic turnaround in my daughter as well. My daughter, we also went through some family issues. I recently gained full custody of my daughter, and in that transition, Ms. Jones was a very implemental part in helping that transition to go along very smoothly. She accepted me, me being a father. It's not often that they see fathers at the school. And it was I felt so welcome, and it was such a warm atmosphere for me being a black father to be there at the school. And she was there for me at every step of the way. Anything I needed, she gave me calls at after school hours. Everything's going on, everything is fine. And that was it really touched me to see that how much that it was a family type feeling there, more so than just the school and the students. You know, it really feels like a family there at Vanguard. And me as a parent, that really stands out to me, and her vision really stands out to me. They have many college prep programs in place at Vanguard that's really important to me, and that really stands out to my daughter. My daughter has gotten so involved with so many different activities since being a student at Vanguard, and it's really awesome to me, and I just hope you reconsider your decision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsey. Ms. Brown?
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
Welcome. I thank you for allowing me to say a few words. As a parent, my name is Pam Brown, and I'm a parent of a Vanguard sophomore this year. And it's my contention that everything new takes time to come to a successful fruition. Vanguard, my son has been with Vanguard since its inception, and I found that during this time, Ms. Jones has been an intricate part of the process that is reaching towards my son's academic success. Through all my experiences within Rochester City School District, I have 5 children total from the ages of 37 down to 16, and 9 grandchildren in the city school district. And most of the experiences I've had in the past have not been positive. But with Vanguard, I can say that my son is truly achieving. He's had his little low times and within the school, but he's truly coming up academically. His GPA is rising, which in this last marking period I was very happy to see. I think that, and I'm here to speak on the point of Ms. Jones, as I say, everyone in this room is very surprised at this that's coming about the removal of Ms. Jones. I think that, again, this is a new process. It's not yet been in for 2 years. But in the time that it has been here, Ms. Jones has, again, been intricate in helping our children to achieve and receive the highest expectations that they can. And from listening to each and every one of these children, I'm seeing that there is success here. And you know, and part of my concerns with the city school district have been that it does not seem that for the inner city children that we have been set in a position to succeed. But with Ms. Jones, that thought has changed for me. And I get very nervous speaking publicly, so just bear with me here.
Just conclude, Ms. Brown.
She's not taken away my right to be a parent, and I've experienced that quite a lot along the way, or a grandparent. And I have to defer right back to Ms. Jones. She has made me a part of anything that's gone on that it pertains to my child within the school, which I find that, you know, a lot of times we have some teachers that feel that inner city parents are not mentally capable of making decisions for our children. I have not found that with Ms. Jones. You know, when we get something that's working within our district, it seems that we always pull it down. And again, I'm going to end with the fact that please consider again the thought that you would like to remove a positive entity from our children's lives and give her another opportunity, give her the opportunity to see our children come to the full success that we know that they can, which they may have not come to had she not come into any of our lives. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. I'll call up our next four speakers. Carl Paris. Is Carl here? Anthony Plonzinski. Lorraine Lawrence. Is Miss Lawrence here? And then Stacy Guidley. Did I say that? Is it Guidley or Gidley? Gidley. Mr. Paris.
It's good to be here. The house has been addressed. In a perfect world, we would all exist without problems and everyone would get along just fine. However, in the real world, we have issues that we try to deal with daily. It has been brought to my attention that Carol Jones may not be with us next year. If this is true, it is truly unfortunate. As a Vanguardian, I believe this sort of decision warrants a closer look at the impact Carol has had on this school, its students, and the team of professionals who work there. Carol has sacrificed all year for the school, staff, and students. She was honest and frank about the serious academic and behavioral challenges we all faced, and has been brave and consistent in confronting those challenges ever since. But those problems belong to all of us, and to assume that in just 2 years it's not working does not align with the values and principles that Vanguard promotes. The very same values that Carol stood up for on many occasions. I feel like this is a mistake. We do not give up on one another. We care about each other. We work hard to solve problems and make change. Change is not easy. Change takes time. It's not even always welcome, but it's inevitable. If I worked for someone who did not provide a vision and worked selfishly to her own gain, then maybe this decision would seem reasonable. But that is not the case, and this does not seem reasonable. We have a principal who cares. We have a person who is connected to the students. Passion and enthusiasm are not taught. They are captured and built upon. Carol Jones gives out of her pockets to homeless students. She's a principal who actually engages with students and staff and is truly concerned about their well-being. She commits to excellence daily. She comes in early and leaves late. She works on Saturdays. She rearranges rooms by herself on the weekends. No, Carol is not perfect, but none of us are perfect. It's a rare commodity today to find a professional who genuinely cares about the future of youth and is committed to making an impact towards their future. The collegiate model has to be implemented with fidelity and teamwork between all involved parties. People are sometimes compelled to speak up for others when they know the truth about a situation. I place myself in this position today. This snitching policy has moved its way into schools, and the politics are hurting our communities. Guess who is suffering? Our schools and students with its less than 50% graduation rates. Our community with the revolving superintendent doors and systemic dysfunction throughout the city. Our neighborhoods with its abandoned buildings and fading political policies. Great people are hard to find, and when you come across a Carol Jones, you must appreciate all that you have in her. Vanguard has one of the greatest leaders in the district. Carol is special and brings a wealth of experience to the Vanguard community. She reaches out to parents and she encourages engaging discussions in the classrooms to take us beyond Hudson and Norton. She at times makes uncomfortable statements to get people to move beyond their prejudices and grow beyond their lens.
Thank you, Mr. Paris. Thank you. Thank you. Nice shirt. Anthony Plonzinski.
My name is Anthony Plonzinski. I know a lot of you, we've met obviously before. I'm a proud graduate of the Rochester City School District of East High School, but today I am a Vanguardian. It takes a special person to teach our youth here, and who better to tell you than the kids themselves? And today, students, I want to take the time, the little bit of 2 minutes that I have to say that you today are my heroes. You are. I never thought that I'd be a part of a district that shut so many doors on me. But trying to get students and help them get into college has been the most frustrating part of my life sometimes. I go and present free services to students, free services to buildings, and don't get a call back, don't get an email back. I can't say that that has always been the case. Superintendent Vargas, since you've been on board, that has changed. And other people in the district have made that change as well. But when the call came to get college services inside of Vanguard Academy, Carol Jones came to me. She saw where the resources were. I'm a proud member of the University of Rochester family, and she came to us to get services in there. We had around 50 students getting into our programs. Our successful programs where 96 of our students, where we don't take the cream of the crop, graduate, and 96% go on to college. She's about results. And where others fail, she has stepped up. And so I ask you today to not take the first step and take the first black eye of the successful start to this administration and do the right thing, do the only thing that's right, and keep Carol Jones at Vanguard High School.
Thank you. Lorraine Lawrence.
Good evening. My name is Lorraine Lawrence, and I'm a health and AVID teacher at Vanguard High School. I don't think I can add any more to what the students and parents and community members have said. Other than that, you know, Ms. Jones is there. She's there every morning in the hallways to greet the kids, standing outside when it was, 20 degrees, when it's raining, when it's hot. She's there. She knows every kid by name. She has an open door policy. When you go to her office, it's either a student in there, a teacher. She doesn't turn anyone away. And I have to say that the last 2 days where it's been 85 degrees, where the kids spoke about the after-school program, that library has been packed with over 40 kids in there on a hot day when they can be out just hanging or doing anything else, but they're in there and they're working hard. It may be small gains, but to these kids, those small gains mean everything to them. And I have to say, I'm also proud of the students. I've watched them for the last 2 years, and for some of them to come up, to be brave, to speak on behalf of their principal, it took a lot of courage, and I think that speaks volumes for Ms. Jones.
Thank you. Ms. Gidley.
Good evening. My name is Ms. Gidley, and I have the very good fortune to be the school counselor at Vanguard Collegiate. Author Stephen R. Covey writes about leadership, "I am personally convinced that one person can be a change catalyst, a transformer in any situation, any organization. Such an individual is the yeast that can leaven an entire loaf. It requires vision, initiative, patience, respect, persistence, courage, and faith to be a transforming leader. And I know I am not alone when I say that these are the qualities that our leader, Ms. Carol Jones, makes a living example out of on a daily basis. Her vision has made our school a family. Her initiative lets those around her know that when all else feels scary or stressful, she will be the strong backbone that we need. Her patience has earned her the unwavering trust of her students. Her respect is the reason we're all here tonight. Her persistence has inspired each of us to make it happen the Vanguard way. Her courage provides a profound example in the lives of her students. And her faith in people, in truth, in fate, in Vanguard, is what will continue to transform our school into the best in the city. It is not every day that you come across a leader so dynamic, so energetic, so visible, and so committed to others. But Ms. Jones is, as one of our family members put it, a get down in the mud with you kind of leader. It is not uncommon to see her in the hallway, mop in one hand, drill in the other, in the midst of sprucing up our space. But she won't ask for your help. What she'll ask you is, are you okay? Do you need anything? Can I help you with that? What this has done is let all of us know that she is there for us, whenever, wherever, and for whatever we need. And we, in turn, are there for her. It would be naive of us to suggest that there is nothing about our school that needs improvement. We know what those things are, and we know that the only way we are going to accomplish our goals is by working together. We're a team at Vanguard, our students, our staff, our parents, and our agency partners. And tonight, if you vote to remove our coach, the only thing we'll know for sure is that it's an irreversible decision. We are aware that it is not the norm for the board to deliberate on personnel issues, but we encourage you to put normalcy aside tonight, because the decision to remove Ms. Jones can't ever be taken back.
Thank you so much. I'll call up our next four speakers. Christopher Brady, Mr. Brady here. Anita de la Cruz, Anita here. Andrew Gardner, and Howard Krug.
Good evening, Mr. President and board members alike. My words aren't as eloquent as some. I'm the school social worker. I'm Chris Brady. I'm also a therapist in the community for over 12 years and an advocate in a couple of different judicial systems here in Rochester for the emotional well-being of children. What I've learned in this process is that you, the board, have a very awesome responsibility. You make decisions on a daily basis, weekly basis that affect the lives of children, families, community, and careers. I want to say teachers make a difference. I think if I ask everybody in this room, each one of you and all of the kids here, we can all think of the person who made the most difference in our life as we were in school. I know I can. Just imagine for a minute that someone comes to your school and plucks out the person that meant the most to you. How would that make you feel? How would it affect your life? Not just now, but your future. That's what's happening here. This is real. I'm sorry if this is uncomfortable for you, but this is the issue at hand. I understand in the district there's a word that the decisions come here and they're pre-made. I want to challenge that because this is one that I think needs deeper thought. I think you've heard from enough kids today of what kind of difference this would make in their life. We often say what's best for the kids. I challenge the board. I challenge each person in this district to begin to really live up to that instead of talking about it, because that's an issue. I want to say this. Today you have a tough decision before you. The decision to do what's right or a decision to do what is easy. And I leave you with that.
Thank you. Anita de la Cruz.
Hello, my name is Anita de la Cruz. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak with you. I am a foreign language teacher at Vanguard. And I'd like to say, si la Principal Jones tiene que salir la escuela Vanguard, será una gran pérdida para la escuela, especialmente para los niños. La Principal es una líder extraordinaria. Ella ha trabajado duro y sigue luchando para el progreso de los estudiantes aquí en Vanguard. No solamente quiere mejorar la educación de los alumnos, sino que quiere mejorar la vida y la manera de ser de ellos. Día tras día, ella demuestra que es única y es increíble el trabajo que hace. If Principal Jones must leave Vanguard, it will be a great loss for the school, especially the children. Our principal is extraordinary. She has worked hard and continues to fight for student progress at Vanguard. Not only does she want to improve education, she wants to improve the lives and well-being of our students. Day after day, she shows us that she is unique, and the work that she does is incredible. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gardner?
Good evening. My name is Andrew Gardner. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I'm here to speak about the Close-Up trip. The Close-Up program is an amazing educational experience for our students. I was the chaperone and the ambassador to the program. This is my second year doing that. And I want to thank personally Dr. Vargas, Mary Doyle, the Board of Education, and Steve Lamort for greatly helping supporting this trip to make it possible for our kids. On this trip, kids visit memorials. They communicate with local senators and congresspeople, and it's truly a life-turning event for all of our students. And after our trip, which is going to take place this June, from June 24th to June 29th, I'd like to bring the students that participated on the trip back here and share their experiences with the board. I thank you for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. Howard Crew.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I look at all these pictures and they're happy, smiling students and sitting right in front here. And then I look out at our students and I think of our motto, students first. And I think that's what comes to mind when I look back at Ms. Jones in the back. Some say leadership doesn't matter. I would say and disagree with you, leadership does matter. Ms. Jones, in an effort to raise the GPA of students and to help some of the students pass the January Regents in U.S. history, convinced me and other people to give up after school time, to give up, I even started giving up free periods and work with kids who passed on the January Regents. And I couldn't help remembering that several of the students who passed the January Regents in U.S. history were so excited, and they had to run and tell Miss Jones that they passed. She was the first, not their mom and dad, but Miss Jones. Secondly, she's encouraging the kids to bring their GPAs higher. She walked around the rooms. You heard them talking about that. One young lady said she came from another school. She went from a .35 to a 2.64. And she verifies self-worth. I've seen it again and again with Miss Jones at Marshall High School, how she comes in. She's there before I get there. I get there about 7:15. I always say I'd like to open the place, but she's always there. And when I leave around 4:35, she's still yet there in her office doing things. And she's always got new ideas and new initiatives to help the students do better and to connect with the students. If students are first, and we want them to do better, leadership does matter. Leadership matters bringing in Bryan and Stratton College and starting a program for our students. She went out there. She did that. You heard Anthony talk about the U of R and Upward Bound, bringing in the college. She has been a mentor, a counselor. You've heard that come from the students. She has helped bring a family atmosphere to the Vanguard. But the most important thing Ms. Jones does is she's advocated for some of the kids who I necessarily haven't advocated for as well. She is a Vanguard mom. She's a family. She's an awesome leader who has great vision, and she is very much interested in seeing the Vanguard Collegiate High School project through. And in 1.5 years, a decision is made to remove her. I'm not quite sure that that's the best decision of all, because when you go to a grow-out school, you're facing a lot of problems that are unknown. Ms. Jones has brought in a lot of things in Compass. She's brought in Pathways to Peace. She's done a lot to help the community grow.
Thank you, Mr. Krug. Thank you. Our last three speakers, Carol Jones, Sue Hollister, and Michael Ciella. Is Sue Hollister and Michael Ciella here also? Okay.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to everybody, to the board.
Can I just make a point? I really got a problem with the police officer being in here. I really have a problem with it.
He's part of my program.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Forgive me.
That's how strong my program is.
Okay.
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay. All right. Okay.
This is the first time actually he's showed up to school in the uniform.
Okay.
So.
He's in our payroll, Mrs.
Jones, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, the good thing about it is when he first came to Vanguard, and I'll elaborate on that, one of the things I truly wanted to do was start to bring our community together and looking at how being a police officer could actually be a career for our kids and start to mend the ways between how society has impacted the way we start to see each other. And I also wanted that when I brought Mr. Chula onto campus, I didn't want him to get involved in any of the things that happened on campus, and he has not. I wanted our kids to see that he's there for one reason and one reason only, and he's a career. He really is, because he brings relevancy into the classroom. He gives up 2 periods a day where he comes in. He teaches third period and fifth period, and I have to tell you, I'm scared to go in the room, not because of how scary he is, but he is so passionate. He's so passionate about what he brings into our program, as well as, I have to say, I have the most passionate staff at Vanguard. And I told myself I wouldn't do this because I believe I am a strong woman, but now I'm starting to find out I'm a mother for a lot of people, so I got a lot of work to do. I also found out that I can do a lot of things around buildings and fix things, so I'm a little worried about other phone calls I'm going to be getting here soon. I do want to say one thing, and I want to make this very brief. When I started a school, or I've worked in the city school district for almost 20 years now, I started out coaching, and then I slowly started to see I really had a passion to be around kids. I wanted kids to have a voice. I think I overdid it. I want them, though, to be heard, and I want them to understand that in their lifetime, they are the ones that have to be heard, because they're such a powerful force to our community. And I'm looking out there today and thinking about, I'm listening to 9th and 10th graders, and imagine what they're going to be in the future. And I'm also thinking to myself about a staff that supports these children and surrounds themselves with the love that they give them. And well, everybody wants this to make about keeping me in a building. They are the ones that took the risk today, and they're the ones that said, I want to have a voice. And I want to thank the board members, and I personally want to thank you, Dr. Vargas, because I know that you were quoted in the DNC for a couple things. You were quoted about being a lighthouse for children, and you are. And I know you were quoted by Mr. Evans about saying that you want to know that people can talk to you, and you want people to listen. And you've done that for us. You took the time to do that for me, and you took the time to do that for many others in my building. And for that, I want to thank you. Regardless of what the outcome is, I personally want to say that to everybody tonight. I think you made a good decision. I think it's going to continue to go in the right direction, because he has been listening. And I do know that my students at Vanguard and my staff at Vanguard, I thank them for doing what they did tonight, but this really is about our children. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Okay. Can you hear me? My name is Sue Hollister, and I'm an art teacher in the district. I spent 7 happy years at Monroe High School and then was displaced last summer. Now I teach at 3 different high schools in the district each day, one of these schools being located at the Franklin campus, which is how I first met Miss Carol Jones. Since the first time I was introduced to Miss Jones, I was inspired by her vibrant spirit, passion, commitment, and dedication to Vanguard. Every day I pass through Vanguard when leaving Franklin, and Miss Jones is always in the hall with a smile on her face, talking to the students, and usually giving them high fives or receiving a hug. It's evident that her students respect, love, and trust her, as do the Vanguard staff members who I've spoken to over the past few months. After a year of bouncing from school to school, exhausted from all the energy it takes to be an itinerant teacher, I was so excited when I heard about the full-time art opening at Vanguard next year. I met with Carol to hear her vision for the school and happened to notice her staffing chart on the board in her office. She got a bit teary-eyed as she explained that there would be necessary cuts in some areas and that those cuts were people and not just positions. Each one of those teachers, aides, and paras, who may very likely lose their job, are like family to her. That's the point when I realized that I wanted to work with her. Oh, jeez. Soon after that, I interviewed, and I was ranked first, so I was ecstatic to be going there. And I wanted to be part of a thriving school community, and most importantly, to work with a principal who was so supportive. However, I soon heard that she was being removed from her position as principal, and I was devastated, and I don't even work there yet. At one of my current schools, other than in meetings, I've only seen the principal twice. I've never had a conversation with him. I don't think he even knows that I work in the building. It bewilders me that Ms. Jones is one whose future with this district is even in question. Not only is she supportive of what is happening within her building, she's even supportive of what her students and staff do in the community. She was the only principal I know who came out to support the district's artists in a countywide exhibition that I coordinate. And her students weren't even part of it yet because they don't have art this year. She came to support me. So I'm here tonight to support her. We need Carol in this district as an energetic, honest, and passionate leader, and we want her at Vanguard. When Superintendent Vargas addressed the district's teachers at the beginning of the year at Theater on the Ridge, he stated that relationships were the most important thing to strive for and maintain in this district. Carol Jones has the support of her staff and 100% of her students. We want to work hard for her and make her proud. She has created an environment where students feel welcome, safe, and nurtured, and that is the first step towards their success. She has created a work environment where the staff feels appreciated, supported, and heard. She has worked so hard to build these relationships with her students and staff, and because of her, we are so proud to call ourselves Vanguardians.
Thank you. Michael Fiala?
Hello, I'm Michael Chula. I'm a teacher at Vanguard. I have a night job that I couldn't really get away from, so I wasn't able to change in time. So I'm in no way representing the Rochester Police Department.
Thank you.
Just Mike Chula. And that's actually what I found out when I came to Vanguard. When I first heard about the position of teaching and policing, I was told that it was going to be a partnership between the Rochester Police Department and the Rochester City School District. What I found out very quickly was it was a partnership between Mike Chula and Carol Jones. And if it wasn't for Carol Jones, I don't know what would compel a person to work 13 hours a day. But I found out that it is her passion in this program that has driven me not only to get state certification to teach this program, but to spend pretty much all of my free time when I'm not sleeping 12 minutes a night teaching at Vanguard. There's not anything more I can say about the academics or how great the students are or the behaviors and anything that she's changed. I've only been there for 1 year. What I can say, though, is that her passion as a parent and her leadership is what brought me into the school and has created a state-certified teaching police officer who works the streets at night. So just to say that I lent my support to Carol Jones in every way possible, and I don't know how the program would exist without her. And the more I hear about it and the more I see that the program is something that we want to duplicate not only as a police department but as a Rochester City School District, that we want to bring it to downtown, have a public safety school. The more I see that it was Carol Jones who brought it into the Rochester City School District, and Carol Jones has made it all possible. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Mr. Chula? Mr. Chula, I apologize for mispronouncing your name. Thank you. I want to thank all the speakers that are here tonight. We have a lot of speakers that spoke on behalf of a specific individual. So I think that my time's up. But I want to explain how the process works in terms of when we're dealing with a personnel matter. The board by law cannot talk about a personnel matter in a public meeting. I heard someone say that they hope that the board deliberates on this, and the board obviously will deliberate on many personnel matters that are in our packet tonight, and we do that in executive session. So we go behind closed doors, and we'll get background on all of our personnel matters, and then the board will render a decision after we hear from the administration any justifications that they may have for their decisions. But we are barred by law from speaking about any specific individual for obvious reasons. We don't. We respect individuals' confidentiality. So you guys can talk about individuals and their attributes and qualities, but we can't do it publicly as a board. So we go into executive session at the end of our meeting, and we will do that with a lot of resolutions that are related to specific individuals. And then after we meet in our executive session, we decide a course of action there. So I just wanted to let you all know that, because I don't want to keep folks sitting here waiting, thinking that we discuss individuals right here in front of the public. We can't do that by law. So those who want to stay for the totality of our meeting, please feel free. But we won't be getting into our personnel issues until at the very end of our meeting. Again, I want to thank all of you for speaking, particularly the students. It takes a lot for young people to get up in front of a large crowd and speak, so I want to applaud them for that. With that, you can give them another round of applause, the students. Go ahead. Thank you. We're going to move to the superintendent's report. He has told me that he has a very brief report, Mr. Superintendent.
You have a PowerPoint?
I'm going to ask you to join me.
Okay, Mr. Superintendent, let's wait 1 minute for folks to clear out, and then I'll let you. Yeah, just 1 minute. Don't.
Do a recess.
Okay, we'll recess for 1 minute, 2 minutes, so folks can go to the bathroom. Por favor.
Thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Well, thank you, President Evans and members of the board. I'm going to make a brief presentation to you about a very important issue for our district, which is, I think, is related to the superintendent employee group, as it referred to. Here are the facts about this group. They are managerial confidential. They are no member of any bargaining unit. They are not subject to civil service law and not subject to educational law or tenure. And they are appointed to this position and compensated, and they serve at the pleasure of the superintendent. I'm going to give you a brief what is now. Currently, there are 31 people in this group, and we have brought them down from 51 from 2011 to now. So you can see a significant reduction, which I think was the interest of this board when I first arrived. So I took you meet, basically. You did want me to deal with reducing this group, and we did accomplish that. Currently, there are basic three groups in there. The covering people that are working, and then we have a group that I covered that prior to 2003. Then we have also in this group, you have a significant number of people that have retired and are collecting benefits, of course. Here are the current benefit. People are receiving 25 days a year of vacation, 12 days or 6 days, 10 days for personal day, and there are 13 paid holidays. There's a total of approximately 60 days that this individual, that members of this group could be off from work. Currently, in terms of vacation, 60 days per year is the maximum that the employer could carry on. And then cash 10 days. And when they're departure from the district, they could get paid for all the accrued vacation days. 6 days they can carry over from year to year. And their departure from the district, they could cash each day for $100 per day, not to exceed $25,000. Unused personal day, they could be converted to 6 days. Any portion of the 10 days a year not using after cessation or employment might be covered to 6 days or vacation time to be paid out. Current health care, people right now get 100% coverage, no contribution is asked. And here are the changes that I will propose for you to consider. Limited day accrue, limited the ability to cash out days, require contribution to health and dental plan. Reduce the number of vacation days earned, apply the post-2003 rules to all members, reduce the number of personal days earned, reduce the number of 6 days earned. Reduce the amount of vacation day able to be accrued, reduce the cash out amount per year for vacation day. Unused personal days should not be covered to 6 days to be paid out for cessation or employment. It changed must have an employee contribution for both health and dental insurance. Today is 25 days. I recommend that you propose to reduce that to 20 days, personal day from 10 days to 5 days, and 6 days from 12 days to 10 days. And then total vacation day, currently is 60. I recommend that you reduce that to 40 days. Annual vacation day cash out from 10 days to 5 days. And 6-day cash out cannot be converted. Eliminate the incentive of the $25,000. So from $25,000 to no. Healthcare insurance from 0 to 15. And by the way, that 15% is across the board. Most of you teach do not employ your pay. Next, please. That's it. That's very good. I think I did it in 2 minutes.
No, it's 2 minutes, man.
So I look forward to any suggestion that you might have as I will be asking you to vote on this in the next meeting.
Thank you. We will now proceed back up to the dais. And they sit down? Oh, yeah. It is. Up, down, up, down. Where's our clerk?
She took the sick day off.
Cash it in. Okay, Mr. Superintendent, anything else as part of your report to report?
I have a few things. One is the, as you know, the Board of Regents was on town, so we are, this is several schools. I do believe that they were very impressed with some of the work that our principal teachers and staff are doing. We visited school 33, and it went fairly well. As you know, you and I are going to Cincinnati tomorrow. And the other thing is that
6 a.m. flight, Mr.
6 a.m. Flight tomorrow. And then we are continuing to work to make sure that all our schools have all our staff know where they're going to be working by June 30, and our students, for the most part. And we added another goal that I'm making to you publicly, and that is that we're going to have a rigorous orientation for families, for parents. And I know that we have a parent representative. I want a lot of pressure from parents to make sure that we have a very solid orientation in our school, not just one, but multiple. Or then I also, last but not least, I would like Beverly Moore to please stand. I would like to introduce Beverly to you. She is now acting Deputy Superintendent for Teaching and Learning. She has been with us for a week, and she is being a tremendous help. And I look forward to your continued support to help us with the serious work that we have ahead of us. Thank you so much. And I can't wait for a member of the board to get to know you.
Thank you. Is our parent rep here? Ms. Lucas, do you have a report for us today? Please come forward.
I had a question to the superintendent.
I'm sorry, yes. Ms. Lucas, 1 second. Question for the superintendent.
What's in Cincinnati?
The Labor Management Conference.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's going to be an exciting time.
The Department of Education invited us to go.
Department of Education for the state of Ohio?
Federal government.
Oh, okay.
It's the state of Cincinnati.
State of Cincinnati. Wait, man, you got to learn your geography.
Geography.
Ms. Lucas?
No, but Mr. Elias, it's called State Education Department. So when we say the Department of Education, it refers to the federal.
Did you say state or did you say
No, I say Department of Education.
He didn't say what we were doing. He just said we were. No, he just said where we were going. He just said Cincinnati. Ms. Lucas.
And I didn't realize that this Department of Education is federal and the State Education Department is state.
In Bohan language.
They're both in Philadelphia.
The state of Philadelphia.
Sorry, Ms. Lucas.
It's okay. Good evening, Commissioners. As you know, my name is Candace Lucas. I'm president of the Parent Advisory Council for the Rochester City School District. The Advisory Council is a 23-member volunteer group of parents who are responsible for gathering and disseminating information between parents and the district offices and vice versa. We operate with guidance and support from the Office of Parent Engagement. Parent reps are involved in school board committees, including student excellence, policy, and finance, among others, as well as district committees, including executive school-based planning, facilities modernization plan, Title I, to name a few. The Council advocates for the involvement of parents in all issues, policies, and regulations related to the education of the city's children, from the inception of ideas to the implementation of initiatives and programs, and also through the evaluation of process. Also advises district staff, the superintendent's office, and the Board of Education commissioners on policy issues that affect all district children, and actively recruits and encourages parents to participate in the district's educational system at all levels, from the school to the school board and beyond. The Council holds a monthly business meeting on the second Monday of the month to conduct the business of the Council. The Council has also recently instituted a monthly informational meeting, which is held on the fourth Monday of the month. And that's open to all parents of the district, and it involves information gathering and open dialogue with key stakeholders. We are currently recruiting new members to join the Council. The term is for 1 year, and applications are being accepted through May 31st. Regarding the resolution that was just passed for the high school innovation plan, parents, of course, want the best for our children. We are excited and supportive of the attention that is being paid to helping our kids succeed. We know there is no one silver bullet that can solve all of the issues that currently exist in the system, and we know that it takes all of us, parents, students, teachers, business leaders, faith-based community, everyone to solve this problem. While we are supportive of the proposal, there are few items of concern to us. The main concern we have is that the district's attitude about parental involvement must change. This is not the first time that I've addressed the board or the superintendent and stated that parents must be involved from the beginning of the process. When parents are included, engaged, and valued from the beginning, you will get the support, and there will be no need to look for parental support after the fact. With that said, we believe that this was a good proposal. However, the governance structure for the proposal relies on the existing school-based planning team structure. As a member of the executive school-based planning team that is chaired by the superintendent, we know that with the exception of a few, these teams are mainly dysfunctional. While in theory they should work, in practice they do not. The teams rarely have the requisite number of parents that are needed. Meetings are often held at times that are not convenient for parents. Parents are often lost in the jargon and do not understand the issues that they should be part of the decision-making for. And while teachers and principals can confer on issues during the day, parents don't have that luxury and are often at a disadvantage. Those are just some of the issues that we've already discussed about school-based planning teams. So if this is the model that is to be used, we must be assured that parents will be engaged and welcomed in the process from this point on. And we would ask, or I'd say strongly encourage, that the board insist that accountability measures be written into the proposal for parental involvement, and that the principal and the superintendent be held accountable for those measures. Also, Parental involvement from the affected school is critical. Every effort must be made to ensure that all parents at Northeast are effectively communicated with. I'm afraid that we may not have learned our lesson from the mistakes that were made during the planning of the all-city high school. Sending a letter home or planning a meeting on Thursday that's going to happen on Tuesday just does not give parents enough time to get there. Speaking to one or two parents is not enough to say that we've effectively communicated with all of the parents at the school. We have to reject that sort of attitude. Parents care and they want to be involved. However, we have to acknowledge the history and the culture of the district to understand why parents are sometimes reluctant to get involved. So we want to ensure that more is done to make sure that parents will be involved in the process. Just quickly, I'd like to state that the Title I Parent Conference was held on Saturday, May 19th. There were 214 people in attendance. That was including registered parents and parents who were also volunteers. We have an analysis of that event showing that parents were very happy with the results, and there's still room for learning for next year. That's it.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Lucas.
you.
President.
Commissioner White, question for our parent rep?
No, just a quick comment. Congratulations to Candace, Gladys, and Willie. I happened to swing by the Title I Health and Wellness fair. I think this was a fair, right? And it was a great time, and I learned a lot, actually, and there was a lot of people there. So it was really a great job that everybody did. I also wanted to say congratulations and thank you to Candace and all the people who are on that Parental Advisory Council. And again, kudos should go to Gladys for really shoring up that organization. I think each of you see how well led that organization is when Candace gives her reports. I mean, we are really blessed and fortunate to have her there, but you miss out on it if you don't see them in operation as a committee. I was at a finance committee meeting, and they were meeting next door, so I swung over there and I sat in and just listened to them. And not only is Candace an able and capable leader, but everybody had an opportunity to report, I guess, on committees that they served on, and you can see how they're all connected. It really is a finely tuned leadership team. So, if you guys didn't know it already, we are really very fortunate and blessed to have Candace and every parent that's on that advice. It is finally gelled. We all saw it go through some very difficult stages over the last few years, and this is just, and I assume that, of course, that Gladys, but particularly Willie, has a lot to do with that too. So thank you.
Thank you.
President Evans?
Commissioner Elliott.
I heard that Candace mentioned about parents being involved on the school-based planning teams, and I don't want that to get lost. So let me ask the superintendent, what is being done in order to ensure that there is active parent participation on those school-based planning teams, and is there a plan in order to have our parents to participate on those school-based planning teams?
Yeah, I think the answer to your question, last summer, and I think Ms. Campo will tell you, we set some specific goal that some of my staff are responsible for delivering, one of which is to increase the number of functioning school-based planning. I could give you a report. Actually, Gladys, if you could, I do know that that's going to be it's on the U area. I don't know if you are prepared to give us an update. How many were the function of this as measured by parent participation when we started this school year versus this year, versus where we are today at the end of the school year?
We started off the school year with having almost half of our school-based planning teams not meeting the number of parents that they're supposed to have. Out of the 64 schools, right now it's down to 12 that don't have enough parent representation on them, and we continue to work with those schools to, what we find is that their parent group is not strong enough. So we start with trying to grow the parent group because that's where they're getting
their representation from. But the number has dwindled from what it was the beginning of the year, and this is the first time we've seen it this slow. So there's been a lot of work. There's still more work that has to be done, and we're going to be continuing to work with those schools to get their teams up and running as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also wanted to add, Commissioner, earlier that Mr. Robinson has been an incredible individual in terms of engaging parents, and Candace and other, but that is a shared goal. I do know that parents put a lot of pressure on me, and this is one that we need your help. It's sort of like when I was telling Candace, we're going to need a lot of pressure to have a good orientation in our school. I mean, I don't want teachers to tell me that when we open the school, the parents are not showing up. We're going to have to work at the grassroots level as well to get more parents engaged in our school, because it's an area that we're in desperate need of improve.
And one final question. I think it's probably time that the board meets with the parent group. We haven't done that in a while, and if that can be arranged, that the board meets with the parent group.
We said we're going to do it quarterly, so we're coming up on that third month. So I think it's
Is it June?
June.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. The other point I would make about the school-based planning team is parent involvement, but also that every school have a functioning school-based planning team. And the issue is that some schools don't have a well-constituted one. And I don't think that bodes well for that school if they don't have one. In fact, it's a shame if the school doesn't have a school-based planning team. So any school that doesn't have a school-based planning team, get one. Any other? Commissioner Cruz.
Yes, Mr. Superintendent, if you're able to send us a list of those 12 schools.
Yep.
So we might have connections to those that we might be able to help you out with.
That's a great suggestion. We could send it on the Friday.
The 12 schools that their parent group is not functioning as well as it should.
Right.
Is that what
I would love to know what those schools are.
We will send it.
Thank you.
But let me just get clarification. Now, you're talking about the parent group as opposed to the school-based planning team? Because the school-based planning team consists of more than just the parents. It's teachers and so forth and so on it. It's a smorgasbord. So just
more the
clarification.
parent groups, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
The parent groups.
You're talking about the parent groups? Okay.
Thank you. We'll start with board reports. Just let me say, the President's report, I'll make that brief. I'll have an update on the Labor Management Conference. We're supposed to go there and share best practices and get best practices from districts around the country that are doing well, so I'll come back to report on that in the June meeting. And the only other two things I wanted to note is I wanted to thank Commissioner White for going to the Title I conference. I could not make that event due to a long-standing scheduling conflict. And then I wanted to give a shout-out to all of the standard bearers that were recognized at the 123rd annual transfer of the flag. So this has been going on in the city school district for 123 years. And it was at Monroe High School. It was a great opportunity, and we were talking about, after the event, making sure that we make the 125th bigger and better than ever. So,
what is the purpose of that?
The purpose of it is usually these are high academic students, but they're responsible for raising the flag outside the school, leading the school in the Pledge of Allegiance during the
honor guards.
During the things. They're kind of like the honor guards of the school. And you should, and it starts from the elementary school all the way up to the high school. So you get these little first graders that are carrying in the flag. So it's a very it's an honor for them to be chosen. So and the amount of parents that I've never seen that many people in an auditorium on a Sunday, like at 2:00 in the afternoon. The amount of parents and family members that show up for that. So kudos to Michelle from Lampy from school number 12. Mr. Pappas and Jay Piper from the children's school. They did a great job.
Malik has been very humble. He used to be one.
Yeah, that's right. I was a standard bearer. That's right. That's right. As was Wade Norwood, who was here earlier, and a couple of other people. Excellence and Student Achievement Committee, Commissioner White.
Yeah, first let me say I'm wearing a shirt from RIT. We don't need to talk much about RIT. We know what it means in this community. My brother attended there, and I have a little teddy bear that somebody gave me.
Who's that for?
Well, it could be for your son. There you
go. Don't tell the U of R.
That's right. I'll get a U of R bear next time. The thing that I want to be announcing on DKX Radio next Tuesday will be an effort in conjunction with my Facebook page, thank you, Melissa, to get students to identify T-shirts and shirts for me to wear, because I'm plumb out of my relatives. I got nobody else to wear a T-shirt from. So DKX and I are going to do this sort of contest in conjunction with my Facebook page to encourage kids to talk about what colleges they're going to go to, and then depending on what essay gets submitted, I'll wear that jersey, that particular board meeting. Mr. President, we met, that is Excellent Student Achievement Committee met on Monday, May 22nd, to begin a discussion of the annual professional performance review procedure. The administration is in the process of placing all evaluations online, which will assist in tracking what teachers need in certain areas and the areas of need for professional development. The committee was updated on how the evaluations are scored. Just to summarize, I think there's more we need to learn about this process. The Chief of Human Capital Initiatives was there to sort of school us, but I still sensed that I needed to hear this about 10 more times in order to really appreciate how this is going to work. I know it's a very complicated thing because you've got the state side and then our piece of the evaluation. So we look forward, Dr. Vargas, from hearing more about this in the future. But your chief did an excellent job in trying to orientate us to this new process. And I know a lot more has to be worked out. The next month, we will meet on Monday, June the 18th at 6 p.m. I suspect that will be an interest to many people. For at that meeting, we will be getting an update on the All-City High proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner White. Commissioner Powell in the Finance Committee. Before we start, Commissioner Powell, just let me, I don't know if I got a chance to thank you on behalf of the board for shepherding the board deliberation sessions and also getting us through the 2012-2013 budget. As usual, we appreciate your leadership, and I'm glad that we had a pretty smooth budget this year. Thank you.
It was an honor to do it. Thank you. Before I talk about the Finance Committee, I'd like to bring up something in the context of my service as a Big Five representative to NYSBA. The Resolutions Committee for NYSBA is already beginning to evaluate and consider resolution submissions from across the state. And in the context of our policy committee, we've talked about the existing laws that govern safe schools and transportation in particular, and what constitutes a safety issue that can be resolved with busing. And it goes beyond the scope of our policy committee, but I'd like very much for the endorsement of this body to sit with legal counsel to draft language that we might present to New York State School Board Association. If they in turn pass a resolution, then they are obliged to help us lobby for that outcome. So I'm not sure how to go about it. If you just want to make a proclamation.
Yeah, however you want to go about it, and then we can put something together and send it over. Absolutely.
So I'll sit with legal counsel and bring the results of our efforts to the board, preferably before I advance it to NYSBA.
Thank you.
Okay? Regarding the Finance Committee, we met on May 22nd. We considered resolutions 754 through 768 and resolution 786, and we had a conversation about the FMP bonding issue that was tabled last month. I think we'll find that that is resolution 797 in today's packet. Sum it all up, the committee approved all of those items, but in particular, the committee recommends approval of the April finance report, and I make that motion now.
There's a motion on the table to approve your monthly financial reports, which you received in your packets. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion on the financial reports, which I'm sure all members have reviewed? Hearing none, all those in favor of the financial report, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The ayes have it. Commissioner Powell.
We also have a quarterly student activity funds report, which was recommended by the committee, and I move that for the board's approval today.
There's a motion on the floor to accept the student activities report. It's been moved. Is it second? Moved and seconded. Seconded by Commissioner Cruz. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Resolutions 754 was for procurement items. 755 through 68 were facilities. That includes both new contracts and final payments. Resolution 786 is the accounting follow-up on a policy that we passed through the policy committee some time back, which brings us into compliance with GASB 54. Yeah, I'm talking CPA jargon here. Essentially, these are functions that already existed, but we need to name them properly and categorize them properly in order to be in compliance. And we could not do that on the timetable that the policy committee was considering adopting those policy changes. So you see them before you today. Finally, there was fully engaged conversation about the bonding that was tabled last month. The question was asked, why Comida? Why not the dormitory authority? How did this come to be? And the bottom line is that, like Buffalo, the local IDA has much at stake and is prepared to offer better terms. They have more at stake because this is a local project, certainly, than the dormitory authority would have. They essentially, the dormitory authority was offering something like a $1.2 million commission, and the Comida was literally half of that, $712 million, if my memory serves me right. So the terms are excellent. There's a certain element, to be totally honest, of apprehension about giving business to Comida by some of the members present, but we couldn't argue with the benefits that we were receiving, so that is why we are recommending it. I think that adequately sums up the committee. Our next committee meeting will be Thursday, June 14th, immediately following the policy committee. And I think that concludes my report.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Powell. Commissioner Vargas. Oh, I forgot it's not 1990. Commissioner Cruz.
Yeah, thank you. The point of...
it's much easier.
Is it really? Point of personal privilege. I had the opportunity to swing by in the afternoon for the Title I conference and saw, it's amazing. A bunch of parents were still there that afternoon, still hanging out, and saw a few there and met the gentleman who was the speaker of the afternoon. Really dynamic young guy. I mean, he's amazing, and he's done a lot of work. He's the president of the National PTA, and brought a lot of experience to the group. So it was an interesting conference, and again, hats off to the staff. You guys did a great job. A lot of parents were there. Kids running around, we had bikes going around, all kinds of things going around. So that was good. Our policy committee met on May 17th. It was really one agenda item. It was the discussion of the revisions of the Code of Conduct and the policy against harassment of students and employees. These revisions were made to incorporate provisions of the Federal Dignity for All Students Act, which goes in effect July 1. Both of these policy revisions were approved by the Policy Committee and are forwarded to you tonight as informational items. However, we're asking to fast-track these, am I correct here? Because we need to have them approved for our June meeting so they will become effective July. So we're actually asking to have you as an introduction or information item tonight and then approve it in our June meeting. The once these policies have been revised, then the corresponding superintendent regulations will also be changed. Our next meeting is on June the 14th, and we're going to be discussing for the provision of incentives for the school district employees that reside in the district. We're still discussing that. Transportation options with the implication for student placement and evaluation of costs. We're still working with Mr. Underwood's team on that. And proposed amendment for the responsible bidder policy to require contractors to have a workforce and use contractors that are reflective of the diversity of the Rochester community. And we're closing up shop on the next set of priorities for updating the policy manual. That'd be my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Cruz. Commissioner Elliott and CIGR.
The committee did not meet this month, but we're scheduled to meet on June 19th at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Campbell.
We, Governance Committee, did not meet because I was sick, so we're going to meet instead, because we meet every other month, we're going to meet in June. So that concludes my report.
Commissioner Adams and Audit.
The Audit Committee did meet yesterday, May 21st, with Fried Maxick, the board's external auditor, to review the audit plan for the financial audit for the year ending June 30th, 2012. We discussed the plan and reviewed the timeliness for receiving the audit results. The committee is planning to meet with Fried Maxick on December 4th, 2012, to review the final audit results. All board members are invited to attend and highly encouraged to attend. In addition, the committee discussed the relationship between the district and the Rochester Joint School Construction Board with Fried Maxick. Fried Maxick expressed potential concerns regarding the details of the relationship between the two entities. The committee requested that Fried Maxick express their concerns in writing to the board for further review and resolution if necessary. The committee reviewed the credentials of the financial expert for the audit committee. The committee will invite Ms. Annie Seeley to participate on the audit committee. That's a voluntary position. The audit committee is a little bit unique in that it has room for a subject matter expert to join the committee to help advise us, which is welcome, because as chair of the audit committee, I'm not a subject matter expert. The committee also received a status report on the work of the Office of Auditor General. We would like to note that the audit committee policy, internal auditor policy, claims auditor policy, and external auditor policy included in resolutions 787 to 790 will be voted on this evening. This concludes my report.
Thank you.
I just wanted a couple of personal
points of personal privilege. Yes.
One, I'd like to just share that I attended a series of Rochester Teacher Center events over the last week, and we were really fortunate to have some major scholars in town brought by the Teacher Center. Dr. Asante, Dr. Joyce King, Dr. Adelaide Sanford, Dr. Maiga, all presented really, really substantive, deep, important content over the course of 3 to 4 days. And I was really glad to see that teachers who are participating in this ongoing professional development series brought with them their students and parents and participated collectively, and that was really a rich, productive process, and I would really encourage us to nurture that as much as we can. And then just real quick, today I attended the Healthcare Technology Youth Apprentice Program video presentation at Strong, just a couple of floors down from where I work, and really want to also encourage that we nurture and support those kinds of programs. As a health professional myself, the positions that these students are responsible for working in really are, in the hospital you have to have some college behind you to get into these positions. So these are our young people who are working in these positions and really gaining and contributing and getting back. So we should all try to encourage to make sure we make maximum use of those opportunities. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Elliott?
I should have said this, brought this out when I gave my report. I apologize. I have been going over occasionally to the ROAR program for the people who are interested in construction opportunities through the Facilities Modernization Project, and I think they started out with somewhere around 1,000 candidates, and now down to about 250 men and women who are interested in construction, and I got an opportunity to say a few words to them as well. They are motivated. They are ready to work. I would also like to point out, and I had a conversation with our special assistant to the board on this with regard to, we have about 250, trained, job-ready individuals who are prepared for work. And somehow I'm interested in seeing these young people who may not all get an opportunity to work on the facilities modernization project, but somehow that they not get lost, and we are able to, through our vendors, to be able to in some way hire these employees and so hire these young men and women who are getting ready to understand what the job market is all about. These young men and women are, gone through interviewing techniques. They're all drug-free, and I just don't want them to get lost in some way, that through the relationships that we have with our vendors, that there may be some opportunities for these young men and women to be hired. I would want us to be able to, in some way, and I don't know exactly how you do it,
but
I don't want them to get lost.
How can we, and it's funny, I thought about that too. I said, what about all these people that work so hard, went through the process, and then all of a sudden, half of them don't make it? Why can't we have a vendor fair where we're kind of like a job fair, if our vendors come and advertise jobs that they might have openings for, and invite those people who may not have gotten chosen for the ROAR program because they have all the skills, as you mentioned, like they're drug-free, they're on the right track, they just weren't able to because there's only a certain number of slots to do that. Is that something that we could do, Madam Clerk?
President Evans, we recommend hopefully during the course of the summer that the board consider similar policy that we have for the FMP that Mr. Underwood could talk about. But I believe that the board has the right to establish a policy which would call for when you have a certain contract that you call for a certain number of participation from people resident from the city, just like the FMP board has, and that's something that we should have a discussion. I believe that the one for the FMP called for 20%? Yep. Okay. So the similar concept might be applicable, and I know Mr. Cruz is working in the policy committee, and that's something that we can take a look at.
But I think even what Commissioner Elliott is talking about, just simple, we can try to put employers and people who have these skills in the same room to say, hey, look, here's people you can connect with to get jobs. So.
But if you have the policy, that's what we're doing for the FMP. We're having fair and open and recruitment and all of that. At the end of the day, if you have a policy, you will have it will strengthen in that kind of fair or group. Yeah.
All right, thank you. That concludes our committee reports. We're now moving to resolutions. We have several resolutions that are going to be discussed in executive session. Resolutions 737 and 738 are going to be voted on after executive session, Madam Clerk, correct? Correct, because there's some corrections that need to be done there. So 737 and 738 after exec session, and then resolutions numbered, Madam Clerk, what are the other ones that are executive session?
Resolution number 728, continuing appointments, that's done after executive.
728 are all exec session, and I think that's it. All executive session. 728, 737, 738 will all be executive session. We discussed those in executive session. So I'll entertain a motion for resolutions numbered 729 through 754, with the exception of 728, 737, and 738.
So moved.
Been moved by Commissioner Powell. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner White. Any questions, general questions not related to specific individuals on these?
President Evans?
Yes, Commissioner Elliott?
Resolution 735. What does an occupational therapist do? And why is that person making $35 an hour?
Question on occupational therapists, what they do, Mr. Superintendent?
Would you like to answer that question?
Occupational therapists provide fine motor skills to students who are classified as students with disabilities. So pencil skills, walking, various fine motor skills.
Okay, I assume that since it said occupational, that this has something to do with employees, with jobs, and so,
Not necessarily.
okay.
No, I think you're giving the right answer, Mrs. Green. I think that your answer is correct.
If you go to School 29, you'll see many of them actively engaged, particularly with our students that have profound physical disabilities.
Do we have evaluation with regard to this particular title and how effective that they've been? Do we have that information available?
Yeah, we do, and normally it's directed through the IEP. Most of these children have an IEP, and the IEP is reviewed annually, and the services, the occupational therapist services, embedded in the IEP.
Is every student supposed to have an IEP, or is it just special education?
It's special education only.
Okay. All right. And then for the supervisor, custodian, engineer, why are we paying that person $94,000?
Mr. Underwood.
Commissioner, I can attest to the period. I'd have to defer to HCI, the civil service titles with respect to the pay rates of those jobs. I don't know if Bethany's here.
And what's incumbent in those jobs as supervising custodian engineers? What do they do?
They, in terms of all the buildings that we have that have boilers, you have to have custodians who have. There's a certification that's needed by a custodian engineer in terms of operating a boiler in a building. So, which as you know, many of our buildings do have those technical items in them that need to be operated, tested, and run to keep the building running efficiently. So there's certain, again, just to repeat, those certifications are needed in order to do that.
Okay. I'd like to make a friendly amendment. I want to break this resolution up.
What resolution is that?
735. I want to vote no on those two positions that I've just talked about, and yes on the other ones. So I'd like to amend 735 to be 735 A and B.
Where does B start?
B would start at the occupational therapist title.
Okay. Any objections to 735A going from A up to the cleaner and then B being the occupational therapist and the supervising custodian engineer? Hearing none, so ordered. 735A is up through the cleaner, and B is occupational therapist and supervising custodian engineer. Anything else on these personnel resolutions?
Yes.
Commissioner Elliott?
Resolution 739. What is the criteria for leave of absence without pay?
Is our head of HCI here?
Yes.
And do they retain their jobs? Do they get those jobs when they come back? Do they come back?
That's the purpose of a leave of absence, to give them the time with the ability to return. The criteria for a leave of absence without pay would depend upon the purpose of the leave of absence. We have people that go exhaust sick leave, paid leaves of absences, are still entitled to time off under the law. So they're then given a leave of absence without pay, for example. There are other leaves of absences without pay that are more discretionary. During times when we have economic difficulties, we would be more apt to give leaves of absences, because that would allow another person to have that job while the other person was on a leave of absence. again, if you have a specific question about a specific leave of absence, I can either answer it here or in executive session.
Resolution 741. Talk about what it means from going from to a competitive position from a competitive provisional position.
When there is no competitive list at civil service for a competitive title, an individual is appointed provisionally to that appointment until a test can be given and taken and a list can be created. Once a list is created and if someone is reachable on that list, they would be converted from a provisional appointment to a permanent appointment, subject to the probationary period.
And Resolution 751, what does TOA mean?
Teacher on assignment.
Okay. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of Resolution 728 through 754, which also includes 735A and B, with excluding resolutions that I mentioned prior, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No vote on 735B and 748 through 754.
Thank you. That concludes human capital initiatives. We have one resolution, 755, which is procurement and supply. That's to extend an agreement with something that all of us are familiar with, plumbing and HVAC equipment. I'll entertain a motion for 755. This came through finance, moved by Commissioner Powell. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Commissioner White. Any questions or discussion on 755? All those in favor of 755, please say aye. 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 The ayes have it. Thank you. 756 through 769 is educational facilities. Again, these have come through the Finance Committee related to work being done on our facilities to keep them in tip-top shape. I'll entertain a motion for 756 through 769. It's been moved by Commissioner Powell, seconded by Commissioner Cruz. Questions on 756 through 769?
Yes, President Evans.
Yes, Commissioner Elliott.
We probably have had this conversation before, but you're going to have to remind me. Why is the district asking the board to approve resolutions prior to getting the contract and the liability insurance in place? Why are we asked to do that prior to those two pieces being put in place?
Mr. Superintendent, your designee who can answer the question on why would you
Chuck, will you please? What resolution in particular are you referring to?
Well, 756 through 763 all have that language.
Commissioner, if I understand your question, you're asking why does the board ask to authorize a resolution before a particular contractor acquires general liability insurance? Yes. Given that the decision about whether a contract is granted to a particular vendor or not is the discretion of the Board of Education, and given that there's a cost to a vendor in acquiring that insurance, the vendor would first want to have the assurance that they're going to get the work before they're going to actually go out and acquire that insurance. But let me say this, before a contract is executed, there's a number of things that the district always requires. Workers' compensation coverage, general liability coverage. There's a whole list of items that we always require that contractors provide before the superintendent is presented with a contract for execution, and that would be one of the items that the vendor would have to provide.
Couldn't they just get the insurance, and then if they don't get the contract, just cancel the insurance?
Well, once they acquire
it, may be a cost to us if if something happens. I mean, I just have I'm just a little concerned that we wait until after that we approve it, and what if they don't get their liability?
That's we will not present that contract to the superintendent for execution until that insurance is in place. That's one of the, there's an insurance binder that goes into the file, and that's one of the things that is in the file before we present it to the superintendent.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anything else on 756 through 769, educational facilities?
I have a question on 756.
756,
Yeah,
Commissioner Adams?
I just had trouble following exactly what's going on there. This is School 46. Am I understanding it right that there's an additional approximately 190,000 to do a transportable for pre-K that's added in, and then there's also some added costs for the window and air quality projects in the main school itself?
Mr.
And
Underwood.
that it's all being delayed, or that most of the main building is being delayed?
Couple things. There's a transportable classroom that's been taken to over to 46 to allow for pre-K, which was an addition to the job. So that's that 100 and I think it's 80-something thousand dollars. So we added that so that we could get state aid on that. So we added that to the project. With respect to the windows at the school, there's some historical preservation that has to happen, and SED wants us to maintain the style and type of window. So as commissioners will know, anything that we do at our schools has to be approved by SED. So there was some, for lack of a better word, concern about maintaining that style of window, so we're going to defer the window work to next year. So we're not doing that yet, which is why you see not all of the funds that are allocated to this project are being used this summer.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes, Commissioner Powell, follow.
I know that School 46 is not a designated National Historic building. It's not on the National Historic Register, registered places. Is it part of the Browncroft Historic District? Is that a contributing building?
Not sure. SED, not sure. I can definitely check that, Commissioner.
My point being that SED has no business calling for historic preservation in a building that hasn't been designated as a historic site. If it's a contributing building to the Browncroft Historic District, that's one thing. But otherwise, they're essentially calling upon us to add costs to a project that isn't necessarily at the present moment considered a historic project. The only building that I'm aware of that in its own right is a historic place is the School 58
Well, the
building.
inquiry. Okay. I'll definitely double check the why on that and get that back to the board clerk.
Thank you. Any other questions on 756 through 769?
Yes. Why is this the mural, Life of Contemplation mural? Why is this important that we spend this money on a mural?
Oh, because it was raised by,
It's
a private.
it's a good question. Oh,
Commissioner Powell.
let me just briefly. Are you talking about the one James Madison or Wilson? Yeah, that is part of that school was embedded in there. Actually, I asked what the value was, and the thing is, so being part of that school, and it's just incredible piece of art, and it need to be protected.
Actually, the funds were raised privately.
Yeah.
It's okay, Mr. Underwood.
But that's part. I mean, that mural is part of the school's history. I mean,
Correct.
Those murals were very carefully detached from the original Madison when it was West High.
West High.
And put into storage. One of them was mounted at the time that the building was built, and a space was set aside for the other, but they couldn't afford to do them both at the same time. These are incredibly valuable pieces of art history that date back to the...
What's the monetary value of them? Do we have a monetary value of them that we could put as a part of our assets?
To us, right now, it's invaluable, because if someone were to ask us to buy that right now, my recommendation, unless we're going to to make significant difference for the district, I would say no. I mean, it's a treasure for those who are familiar with that school and the history of that school.
It's also important to note that funds were raised privately
to restore
ensure that that could be restored.
What is it of? Is it just abstract art, or what is it?
It's Art Deco style. If you go into the Madison building and go to the right to that auditorium that we use so frequently, you'll see a long floor-to-ceiling panel behind glass that houses one of the murals, the one that was installed at the time that the building was dedicated, and a similar space of glass had been set aside to receive the second one, but they couldn't afford to do the restoration work on our district's budget. And I want to give a shout out to Tom Casa for letting us know that history. He was, when he walked us through that building when it was dedicated, he was careful to provide us details about some of those features.
Thank you. Anything else on 756 through 769, educational facilities? Hearing none. All those in favor of 756 through 769, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you. 770 through 802 is what I call the potpourri category. Other.
So moved.
It's been moved. It's been seconded. Any questions on 770 through 802? Commissioner White?
Just a brief comment. I think kudos should go to our Auditor General. She was asking some questions about Resolution 772, and I think many of you colleagues maybe saw those emails about sole source provider, and it turned out that they weren't the only sole source provider. But I think our Auditor General is comfortable with the final description of this effort. But I think, again, it shows that we've got somebody, and Dr. Vargas has commented about her effectiveness as a leader in this district. So once again, it's worth noting we have someone who's really working on behalf of the board and the taxpayers and the district as a whole. So 772 is a good example of that.
Thank you. And thank you, Auditor General Henry Wheeler, who sometimes works under the radar, but is working.
So let me
Commissioner
Commissioner White?
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. Is this the same thing we're talking about that I just want to be clear on, that we are adhering to our policy that we're going out and we are issuing bids or whatever you call it, to make sure that, the hillside or the Center for Youth said this is not political moves, and that they are in fact cheaper than the other ones and providing the right service. Is that what?
That's what that email was about.
Okay, so the Auditor General said what?
She's good with this. I mean, some people think, Mr. President, if I could just say this, some people think when we're doing our little thing up here, we're not paying attention to people. But as you all know, sometimes we're communicating with people. Right. And I remember that email from Anissa, and I texted her. I said, hey, Anissa, was this, and she's probably watching right now. She's probably one of the people that watches on TV, right? And I said, is this the same one, the email about putting out the RFP? And we're having a conversation about it. And I said, are you cool with it? Because I didn't get an update. The email was just sort of put out there, and it would seem like it wasn't really resolved, that issue was resolved. But long story short, she's okay with it. Right. She thinks the process ultimately ended up with the vendor who was the right person. But I'll speak frankly, not on her behalf, but on mine. The district, obviously, and Superintendent Vargas has welcomed this. I've heard him say this many times about her, that she's watching, and she's doing her job, making sure that we're all doing our job. So if you were asking me, Commissioner Allen, is she okay with how that was resolved? She believes I believe she said to me, this is the right vendor, this process was right, but the district should know, as they do. She's watching.
Yeah, I just, I get concerned about people who want to fill their budgets at the expense of our children, to keep others in jobs, and so that's my concern about this. That's not what we're we're doing, that they're providing, that we've got the right people to do the right service.
Let me just say, just sort of keep it a perspective from our view, our vantage point. There is no way in the world I would have caught this issue. Not that anybody did anything wrong, but again, I think we should all take comfort. We have somebody, and you've said this many times. We got somebody watching, to make sure that everything is done.
Yeah, but I understand.
Right.
She doesn't understand the political stuff or the history from a political perspective, and I understand that. So, but I appreciate her work.
Yep.
Anything else on
thank you.
770 through 802? Hearing none, all those in favor of 770 through 802 with the exceptions of the ones where we noted that we will be abstaining. Commissioner Adams and myself have a few.
I have some questions.
Oh, Commissioner, 770 through
right.
802, Commissioner Elliott.
776. My concern about this particular resolution, while I think this is I don't have a problem with this per se, the problem comes in is that when we've had the Frederick Douglass Resource Center to come in and to ask for these same kinds of things and haven't gotten it. That's my concern, that we would take them to the Memorial Art Gallery, where probably you don't have a lot of African American art and what have you, but we don't take 6% of the students who are African American. We can't get them to have memberships at the Frederick Douglass Resource Center. I have a concern about that. It seems to me, on some hand, that may be some racism. And I get concerned about that. So is there an opportunity, and I guess I'll ask this to you, Mr. Superintendent, is there an opportunity, if we're going to do this and provide this to the Memorial Art Gallery, can we also have a resolution that our students can also go to the Frederick Douglass Resource Center?
As you can notice in here, this is part of a grant. So if we were to get a grant with similar criteria, the answer is absolutely yes.
So are we going to get a grant?
No, I say there are some grants that are very specific into the nature and how we can and should spend the money that they are worth to us, and not necessarily arguing with you. And saying that embedded in this resolution is being paid by a grant. So I will have to go to that particular grant.
And that may be something to discuss as well, that we can get grants for this other stuff, but when it comes to meeting specific needs of African American students, that seems to be a whole issue. And I won't even bring up the student, the Jada Williams incident. So it seems that it's always an issue when it comes to doing things specifically for African American students. We can take them as if the Frederick Douglass Resource Center doesn't have the same credibility as the Memorial Art Gallery, and I have a problem with that. There's another one here for $4,000, one for $10,000, but we don't seem to be able to get money so that those of African descent can go to an African American museum.
So I think the challenge is that Commissioner Elliott, if we are getting grant money for that purpose, that we should seek grant money for the other things, and I'm sure that it's out there, and it's just a matter of us making sure that we seek those opportunities.
Too many people that don't look like our students that work here. That's the problem.
Can I add something to this?
Yep, Commissioner.
I think that it shouldn't be a question of going out and looking for other grants. I agree with Commissioner Elliott that there are grants that this institution gets, and that there are some of the same old big institutions. And I'm an abstention from these votes regarding the U of R, but I'm still going to speak sort of against always going to the U of R, always going to Nazareth. And in fact, I was involved before I was on the board in taking one of the large federal teaching American history grants and arguing and making the case for using precisely what Mr. Elliott is asking for. So I don't know how this can be done. There's not like a specific policy that can be passed, but can we as a board get a commitment from the administration that when we do have these large federal grants, the big ones, not searching out for some small pennies to go to the to go to the Frederick Douglass Resource Center, but when we have these large institutional grants that are part of the normal fabric of public education, why aren't we using our local resources that are
culturally relevant, culturally most appropriate for our students. So can we get a commitment from the administration that these large institutional standard grants will be shaped more in that direction?
Yeah, of course, you have a commitment. I mean, we can't say that we're for cultural diversity and meeting the diversity of our student if you don't provide diverse experience. So the answer is yes. And I have been in conversation with an organization like when they contact me from the community, and I normally refer them to the right department for some of this thing. I know, including the Frederick Douglass Resource Center, I send them to specific department, and they also issue or capacity to that some of the organization have. I mean, I'm not making any excuse, but I do. There's no question in my mind that our student could benefit from a diverse experiences, if you will. But then you have to assess, at the appropriate time. And I guess if the board has an interest to expand it, that's something, of course, that we will look into it.
Thank you. Anything else on 770 through 802?
Yes. You include 780, right?
Yep, 770 through 802.
How well do the students perform academically who have gone through this program at SUNY Geneseo? Do we have any data to reflect? Yeah, we're spending
Carolina, will you please respond?
$65,000 on this program, and so how do we know that it's having an impact on these students, and is there some evidence to suggest that this program is benefiting our students?
Yes, each of the summer programs, including that at SUNY Geneseo, has a pre- and post-evaluation, which is an academic measurement. I can provide you the specific
Well, what I'd like to
details.
know is, for these students, all these students who participated, have their ELA scores increased? Have their math scores increased? So for each student, that's the kind of data that I want to see.
Yes, we
Not the
have
pre-
that.
and post test, but that's what I want to see. So for, say, the last 2 or 3 years, what I'd like to see is those students that are participating in this program, do we see an increase in the state scores for their English and for the ELA and math?
We can
Can I
certainly
get that information, Mr.?
Most certainly.
We can certainly put a report together that way. There's also other data that's collected, like resiliency data.
I'm telling you what I want.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
And we can, as soon as we get it, we'll give it to the rest of the board. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner White.
Yeah, Dr. Vargas, I know we had talked about this probably 2 board meetings ago, but I think there was some discussion and even some agreement that maybe we would, as part of the resolution packet or maybe quarterly reports, provide detailed assessment as to how the programs are doing. Remember we talked about that we thought it would make some sense rather than just doing it budget time, but if ever you came before us and said, hey, we need $65,000, there would be some assessment.
And it's funny you say that. We actually talked about that to the superintendent. We talked about that today, and we said that that's definitely going to be a topic for our retreat, too, how we keep these ongoing quarterly or what these programs are doing and how effective they are.
The answer that I gave you, remember, is the measure, like right now the evaluation measure, all these programs are doing well according to the evaluation system. Right. There's none that I could say, well, based on that evaluation, I'm not recommending it to go forward. And I mentioned to you that my hope is that once I get a person here in the operation area, that I have asked Chuck and all that to be working on this, because the current one is so weak that doesn't have any tangible component to it. It's rich in qualitative but not quantitative, and even qualitative is very weak as well. So we shouldn't engage in an evaluation for evaluating sake. It should produce some actionable evidence. Like, for example, Commissioner Elliott asked an incredible question. It's a contributor at the end of the day, let's say, to the KGPA or the kid graduating from school. Now, Carolina has some serious measure. I could tell you that she will have, but even her measure, difficult to measure in the long run. Like, it would take a while, for example, for Senior Geneseo for us to show what the graduation rate for those kids. That will require more sophisticated system in place. Right?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Correct.
Commissioner White?
But that's what we were talking about a couple months ago. We weren't talking about evaluations. We were talking about, and I thought you had said that you thought this was a good idea. Matter of fact, I happened to bring my budget. I haven't put it in storage just yet. And I said we had sort of evolved as a board. We asked your predecessor to put in his budget what ultimately ended up being program profiles and budgets. And there's elements like program objectives, program measures, and it talks about ELA and math scores for our high schools. And that's what I was thinking. We had a conversation a couple months ago, and I didn't know the practicality of doing it. Every board resolution packet, maybe it's something that was done quarterly or something like that. But I think rather than looking at this stuff once every year in a budget session, that if you come to us and ask us for money for a particular program, that's exactly what I was thinking, that we would have what we have in the budget replicated upon request. That, okay, this is how they do an ELA and math scores. The bottom line, this is what we're measuring their success on.
You are correct. And what President Evans and I had it, because you have so many programs.
Right.
And then there's a question of capacity. So when we meet in our planning session, I want clear priority. My goal that I would recommend to you is that you will not renew the contract right up front for a particular program who doesn't live up to certain outcome. And that had to be made clear to the vendor and had to be clear to us so that we then can enforce it. And that's what I mean by actionable. And that's where I do think that us as an administration and the board, we gain incredible credibility, and also you will see probably better results if the expectation increase. But it has to be actionable. It has to be we're saying, here's what we expect from you, X. And if that is not delivered, it's an automatic non-renew, unless they are extenuating circumstances.
Thank you.
President Evans,
yes,
here, for example, 782, we're giving money to the Harley School. Well, I don't want to just be, again, I don't, and Mr. Superintendent, I think that you've sort of expressed, my concern in terms of, we get all this, we pay out all this money, but we still, in terms of a graduation rate, below 50%. So why spend this money? It just seems that somebody else is getting the benefit in terms of financial benefit, employees or vendors, and we're still not having an impact. And that's what I want to stop. So,
and I think Commissioner Elliott said that's what I think in the planning session, because the program that you just alluded have about over 90% graduation rate. They also are so unique because they offer summer experience to kids for 8 consecutive years.
Well, why can't we do it here in the city?
And those are great questions that I don't think we can answer to you tonight. I don't think the Rochester City School District right now has the capacity to provide that incredible, rich experience and result that program delivers. And the evidence is very clear. But again, that's why the board needs to know in terms of, now they only serve a small portion of our population.
We're giving them $97,000. That's a lot of money.
Anything else on 770 through 802? Hearing none, all those in favor of 770 through 802, please say aye.
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 I've got some no's.
Commissioner Elliott, no.
771 through 770. 771 through 770. 779. 781, 780, 782. Actually, is that it? Is that 782 is the last one?
Yes. 802, 772, 802.
All right. 783. And I did have a question about space that, but am I out of order if I ask the question? Okay. All right. 791, 794, 795. It's just we're spending too much money and not getting the results. And maybe we should not be applying for these grants.
Is that all of them, Commissioner?
I believe so.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Powell, if you could just announce the gifts that we received.
Okay, I had the pages bookmarked a while ago, but I've lost them. Can you just remind me
They're towards the end.
the numbers?
798 through
Yeah, they're all interspersed, aren't they?
page 7.
Okay. University of Rochester is donating $5,000 for the purchase of supplies for the Lego tournament hosted by the STEM High School. Allison Coach has donated $1,000 to fund a transportation to for rehearsals and a final play in June. New York State Teaches has donated $3,000 to a summer literacy program in collaboration with Barnes & Noble. And Verizon Wireless is donating $750 towards the purchase of awards for students at Henry Hudson School 28. Finally, AJL Manufacturing is donating $1,732 for the purchase of instructional supplies for School 22. We thank all of those contributors profoundly for their support. It just goes to show this is a public-private partnership. If I could take this opportunity while I have the floor. If anyone else would like to see artwork by Carl Peters, there are 8 murals at Charlotte High School that also reflect his work. These are Works Progress Administration commissioned works from the Depression era, and they are striking. So I invite you to go to Charlotte and see 8 of them all together.
And in fact, a couple of years ago, we had some older alumni speak about the murals that were hanging in the school.
Right, because they were raising the funds to restore the West High School murals. So a thank you to all our community partners, and I return the floor to you.
Thank you. Unfinished business from previous meeting? None. New business? Motion to approve. I will yield to Commissioner Cruz to talk about Code of Conduct number 5300. It's a revision in the policy against the harassment of student employees. These are no-brainer policies, Commissioner Cruz.
Yeah, Mr. President, I alluded to them earlier. There's really no other information. It's pretty straightforward. The information is there as presented.
Any questions on the any comments or anything else on the Code of Conduct and the policy against harassment of student and employees? Basically, by law, we better have a policy against harassment of student employees.
Well, again, this is all related to the July federal plan on bullying and all that kind of stuff that's coming down from the feds. We have to have it in place.
And in fact, the Board of Regents approved yesterday that this would also apply to charter schools. Because charter schools were exempt from this before, but yesterday at their meeting here in Rochester, they extended the same thing that we have to the charter schools. Anything on these two policies? All those in favor of policy number revision 5300 and policy number 1510, I'll entertain a motion to approve those two policies. Been moved. There's a second? Second. All those in favor of policy number 5300 and 1510, please say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. We don't have any other speakers off an agenda item. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss resolutions.
So moved.
737 and 738. Moved by Commissioner Elliott. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Campos. All those in favor? Aye. We are in executive session.
That's rather emphatic.